Greetings, fellow Emblemites. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to Season 4 of Spielberg Month. Since Steven Spielberg doesn't do audio commentary on his own work, we thought we'd do it for him. After all he's done for us, it's the least we could do for him. We selected 4 films from his vast catalog of work to commentate on. So let's get ready, Player 1, as we embark on a series of podcasts that requires no artificial intelligence to comprehend. We're encompassing everything under the empire of the sun, and always coming up with new observations to share along the way. It's time for the next blockbuster installment of Spielberg Month. All right, Dragon. Yes, that's it. We're finally doing it, man. We're finally doing it. We're breaking out into the realm of music, and we're talking about the Sydney, Australia electronic duo Empire of the Sun. Dragon, how do you feel about this groundbreaking band?
Well, I felt it kind of went off the reservation of all picks with that band. I gotta be honest, I didn't see it coming.
Dragon, I'm just curious, did you run into that problem in your research of this movie where everything that when you Googled Empire of the Sun, that band came up?
You know, funny you mention that, because I had not until I searched for the image for this thing, because I typed in Empire of the Sun, and the first thing that popped up was something else. I mean, I didn't know if it was a band or not, because I was looking for the actual thing.
It's like apparently Empire of the Sun is a big electronic band in Sydney, Australia. Who knew?
Literally at the last minute, so that's
All right. No, seriously, folks, we're talking about an underrated Spielberg movie. I just watched this movie today, and I gotta say, Dragon, it's not like, you know, I'm not gonna go jump up and down and be like, top 10, baby, top 10. It's a glorious Spielberg film, but I mean, I gotta say, Dragon, there's definitely some pacing issues there, which we'll get into. Like, out of all the movies in our selection, like, you were worried that we wouldn't have much to say about AI, but let's just say with AI, we filled our time quite nicely on that one. I gotta say, like, this one is it's quite a quiet, dignified little movie, and it's both epic and very personal at the same time. It's got a wonderful performance by Christian Bale. I'm sure that'll be probably one of the primary focuses of our conversation is on, you know, Spielberg's kid acting magic right there. And, you know, Christian Bale, of course, being one of the most prominent child actors to really rise out of the label of being a child actor, and he is now Oscar winner Christian Bale. But I digress. So, Dragon, I like this one quite a bit. I really do. I think with John Malkovich's character, there's a lot of interesting daddy issues that we're going to get into, some patented Spielberg daddy issues. It's interesting because this is like, I would describe this as the coming of age Spielberg war movie. And this happened, you know, before Saving Private Ryan, before Schindler's List. So this is a different category of war movie altogether. And it's an interesting one. And I think it's kind of a shame that this one's kind of fallen off of a lot of people's radars. I do worry because of the slow pace of this film. I am genuinely concerned about keeping up with the rhythm of the podcast. That's an entirely different story. But, you know, movies literally aren't made for dorks on the internet to commentate over. That's one of the reasons why Spielberg doesn't like doing commentary in the first place. So it's not like I'm going to fault the movie on that if this ends up being not that engaging of a conversation. But, you know, like I said, very quiet, very respectful, very dignified. You know, it's a nice little pick.
Yep. For me, this I agree. This is Spielberg's. This is the first serious war piece in Spielberg's catalog. Because yes, for anyone who's going to point that, what about 1941? War piece, yes. Serious, not so much.
We'll get to 1941 eventually, folks. We'll get Freddie Water on that one.
No pun intended with the opening sequence of that movie. But yes, it's that's the thing. This is kind of the first serious war movie that's not just like Indiana Jones happens to take place. Happens to feature Nazis in it, like not counting that sort of thing. It's the first like serious like war movie from beginning to end. But again, what's fascinating about this is a war story you don't see that often. It really isn't. This is this movie is as a whole. This is Spielberg subverting what he's known for best. This is kind of like Spielberg, who's kind of very much associated with kind of childhood, high of highs, with whimsies, with all that sort of stuff. Spielberg again is kind of like kind of the name above most of your childhood memories to an extent. And this is again, this is kind of an overlooked entry in his list of films, and I think that's kind of a shame because again, this does kind of he did. As Spielberg, the filmmaker, goes, which kind of commemorating with all this stuff here. This is him kind of taking a risk, kind of doing the opposite. And early on, doing a risk, and as risky as he probably would go years down the line. But again, early on in his career, this is like '87 when this comes out. This is like before the the big '90s stratosphere Spielberg that I think kind of really bolstered him up there. I mean, Jaws made the career. Then you have E.T. It's kind of been kind of putting him in pop culture, and then you have kind of stuff in between those big points. I mean, not counting Indiana Jones being one of those big kind of in the same league as E.T. to an extent. My point is that this again, it's a loss of innocence story, which usually Spielberg does not do that often, and it's quite refreshing in kind of all the Spielberg stuff that we've covered. So I thought that was kind of special about this. It's very well made. And I'd absolutely agree with you. I think it's a little too lengthy for its own good, and we're going to get into that.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even say for its own good, man. Like, I think this movie is like one of those new Hollywood movies that, does take its time and every thread does pay off. I mean, in terms of what I would cut, don't necessarily know because I do think the actual character arc of this kid is I got to admit it is pretty fascinating and engaging from point A to point B. It is a pretty fluid narrative with him. So like I said, I'm more worried about just the sake of our actual conversation than I am faulting the film for it. That's my thing.
Well, I don't say fault in it. Let me put it this way. I don't say for its own good in a negative sense. I say in the sense of I don't mean the sense of like critically how it is. I mean the sense of the reason why it's underrated. I think is like this is a movie that it's not exactly kind of the enthralling. Again, character arc wise, it's very solid. But I mean, like
it's even part of how 3 hours.
That's true, but still, again, that's for anyone who's going into that. Whether again, even if you're not dialed into the characters like you would be with that movie, they always have kind of the action, like the wartime kind of action to fall back on for a general audience. The point being, people have heard about that movie. That movie, again, I'm saying Empire of the Sun, again, I feel is underrated because maybe because of the runtime. And I think there may be a scenery, we'll get into it. Again, I'm arguing, I'm saying you're right about the very strong argument. Things do pay off, and it does feel like kind of the new Hollywood type Spielberg, which I do find really great about the movie. I just feel some of that may have come at the cost of longevity that he would have no way of foreseeing at that time. So, anyway.
All right. Yeah. Background Dragon, what do you got?
I'm going to keep it simple, just in stuff you really need to know here, folks. So, 1984, an author by the name of J.G. Ballard, he wrote this book called Empire of the Sun. Go figure. And he based it on his experiences as a boy. So, Tiki, this movie is a quasi-biopic.
I can buy it. The story's just crazy enough for that to work.
I mean, in essence, like the story at its basis, and basically the events that take place are all based on the author itself. Like it's him as a kid, and of course going by the same name. Like they don't give the full name of the kid, but the kid's real last name is Ballard, so it is this kid. So it's basically so J.G. Ballard, way back when he was put into a Japanese internment camp as a prisoner of war. POW, and Warner Brothers. So about roughly 2 years after that book came out, Warner Brothers, amidst that process, again, there's a theme here, folks. I just kind of noticed the first 3 movies that we've covered on this are all Warner Brothers movies with Spielberg, which is kind of trippy. Fun fact. So basically, Warner Brothers, they buy the book. They buy the book rights, and so Spielberg is not originally attached to the director. It was the director, but then it eventually landed in the hands of another director that engaged.
Steven Spielberg situation, not a Steven Spielberg movie situation.
Well, that's the complicated thing, Tiki. Here's the thing. So what I mean is, yeah, it wasn't originally shot to Spielberg there, but this is more in the developmental phase. Like they didn't get any footage. Like they weren't fully going to go ahead with the director in the first place. But then here's the kicker though. So there's a director, and then they get to another director. And this is where Spielberg comes in. They get to the other director, who's David Lean. Now, David Lean was supposed to direct the piece, and Spielberg was supposed to produce it. Now, for those who may not be aware, Spielberg's directing idol is David Lean. Spielberg loves David Lean. David Lean, of course, famously having directed Lawrence of Arabia and Bridge on the River Kwai. And as you know, Tiki, as we both know, David Lean's work on Lawrence of Arabia is what inspired Spielberg to be a filmmaker. Spielberg as a teenager, specifically. Basically, let me put it this way: Spielberg had a very prolific moment where he saw Lawrence of Arabia, and he kind of threw his hands up and kind of almost contemplated giving up directing because he saw a film that beautiful, and that kind of inspired him to rewatch the movie and basically inspired, like, oh my god, just basically it helped him re-fall in love with movies and kind of aspire for the big leagues. So David Lean is a huge influence on Steven Spielberg, one of his big idols. So he's working on the movie. He's working on a producing capacity, but what happened was Spielberg read the book, and while he was just kind of, again, he was there, he was so happy to be working with David Lean, I'm sure. He read the book, of course, to get on the project as well, but he deep down, he wanted to direct the piece because he really saw something. And so, again, it is kind of a Spielberg movie because he did want to do the piece. He just kind of he discovered that he really wanted to direct the piece. So it's not exactly like a Ready Player One situation per se, you know?
Okay.
So Lean left after a series of disagreements over the story and the script. I guess the scripting process within the adaptation. Maybe he wanted to go a little. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of that, but David Lean he left after kind of a story dispute, which kind of led to Spielberg kind of taking the directing chair, which again he was kind of wanting to do deep down anyway. So it's kind of a bizarro. I guess to thread the needle here. It's kind of a bizarro version of what happened with AI, where Spielberg was obligated to direct AI, where he really didn't want to direct; he just wanted to produce. It's just the opposite. It's all relative, folks. It's all relative. So Spielberg, presumably he did the movie, to honor kind of Lean's work. Again, basically, this movie is very much inspired by kind of his love of those David Lean films, specifically Bridge on the River Kwai, in terms of like what this movie's going for with the whole Japanese internment camp POW sort of thing. And of course, Spielberg very historically, kind of factoring in the daddy issues, famous with the Spielberg pieces. Steven Spielberg. A lot of his early films, like his early home movies as a kid, were World War II films because his father, had these great World War II stories that he would tell him and kind of inspired him. And of course, throughout Spielberg's catalog, he would touch on World War II time and time again.
Just a wee bit here and there.
Just a wee bit, So the big challenge that really excited Spielberg, really got his juices flowing, that really wanted him, that really kind of sold him on the project, was pretty much what we've kind of laid out here, where he wanted to do kind of a loss of childhood innocence story, which is completely opposite of what he'd been known for at this time. Again, this is like 86 is when they're making, 87 is when it comes out. It's like, again, this is like Spielberg, even in the producing capacity. Think about it. You have E.T., you have Indiana Jones, you have like things produced like the Goonies at this point. You have Goonies, I believe.
Poltergeist as well. Yeah. Hello. Dragon, you there, buddy? Sorry, folks. Not sure if it's him or me, so I'm going to go out and come back in really quick. Be right back.
Hello. Sorry about that, folks. Minor technical hiccup. Anyway, just in case you didn't catch what I was saying at the very end there. Sorry. Just in case you didn't catch what I was saying at the end there, folks. Christian Bale was cast because he did this miniseries, Anastasia, Mystery of Anna, which I believe is based on the Anastasia story. I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me. But it was that, along with the overwhelming sense, like, oh my God, Christian Bale looks just like the author. I mean, it's just kind of like, the stars aligning, fate and such. It was just, oh my goodness, it was quite a fun thing. So basically, everything kind of aligned for Empire of the Sun. That's about it. That's about all she wrote. All right.
And sorry, I don't know if it was you or me, but you kind of cut out.
I know it was me, but did you hear me Spielberg's catalog of 80s stuff or
catalog? Well, I threw in Poltergeist. You were saying The Goonies. Of course, that was when he was working with Don Bluth, so American Tail and Land Before Time were in there as well.
There we go. I cover all my bases. We're good. So just set up the Lethal Weapon of it all.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me get the screen share up. Why don't you set up the Lethal Weapon?
So, folks, of course, there's gonna be a commentary for a very lengthy movie, so bear with us. But just on the off chance, again, this is kind of underrated.
This is like I'm gonna be like this isn't one I'm expecting many people to like, unless you're actively familiar with this movie. I'm not expecting like, come on, Donovan Martin, watch this whole commentary. Just sit down and engage with it, and like, folks, it's fine. It's like this is a very niche movie, so.
Of course, so this is a commentary, so we're not going to be able to really kind of read out the comments all throughout the thing. We'll check in at the very end of the show, see if there's anything kind of we'd like, substance to read out and vice versa. Just going to shout some people out. But again, we're hopefully, given Empire of the Sun is kind of an underrated film, you may or may not have a copy or have access to it. So hopefully, we're going to go through it in kind of a linear order, so hopefully you won't have to watch anything along with us just to follow along with the conversation, have a good time. But again, best case scenario, you watch Empire of the Sun with us to kind of get full context. But do what you will. And when Tiki says go,
listen to the band Empire of the Sun and listen to the podcast at the same time.
Well, that's just crazy. So. Anyway, so folks, of course, Teague is going to count up 1, 2, 3, go, and when he says go, that's your cue to hit play if you're going to follow along with us. Otherwise, just kind of sit back, enjoy the ride, and just try to, okay, Empire of the Sun, paint a picture for me, that sort of thing. All right.
Imagine I'm Deems Taylor, and I'm painting the picture in your mind's eye.
Right.
That's a very deep cut Disney pull. All right. Anyways, all right, folks, here we go. Empire of the Sun. The 1988 Spielberg movie, not the 2007 Sydney, Australia band. In 1, 2, 3, go! Dragon, I just want to point out for the record that I almost pushed the stop broadcast button instead of the play button.
Not something I kind of wanted to know right now, Tiki, but good to know, I guess.
I'm just like, just for the, just for prosperity's sake, I'm like, okay, well, tragedy avoided, I guess. So what do you think of this cold, we talk about cold opens all the time, but this is about as cold as you can get, man. It's just like, yeah the facts. We're just going to lay out the scene, and it's not going to be a fun Star Wars style war march. It's just like, this is what's going on. It's kind of weird that the logo is just sort of like looming under the text like this in the opening crawl.
Yeah, I do like kind of like the sun just kind of coming in the fray over the sun. Yeah. That's kind of cool. So of course, a little bit of, I wonder if it may be a nod to George Lucas's work with opening crawls. I gotta wonder.
Perhaps.
So basically what the crawl is communicating here, I think it's worth noting, is that like Schindler's List, for years. This was a topic as well that was kind of forgotten in history until, I'm not going to say until this movie, but let's just say for a long while, this was kind of a subject. Japanese internment camps were definitely something that was really not talked about a lot.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with the internment camps in America.
I know, right?
I honestly knew nothing about the Japanese internment camps until I watched this movie. I didn't even know that's. Like, I had a vague idea that this movie was about World War II from the perspective of a British kid in Japan. I didn't know anything about the internment part of it. Okay, so let's talk about the arc, man, because there's so many full circle elements here to get into. That's where the juicy part of the conversation is going to come into play.
Well, sure, but I also want to hit one thing though. I love the opening visual. It's thematic with the arc. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah,
yes,
it's literally like a Spielberg like full circle, like first shot mirrors the last shot sort of deal.
Yes, but I mean, also we have we have coffins in the water. We have just visually again like loss of innocence is kind of like the first visual of the film. Basically, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. So it's coffins in a water with the boys' choir going on. So that symbolizes the loss of innocence, where we have just kind of something beautiful with something really tragic kind of in our face right there, right off the gate. All right, so we're basically having a little kind of fancy tracking shot in here for James, for J.G. Ballard, the young Christian Bale. I gotta tell you again, I've seen I've seen the latter. I've seen clip. Tiki and I'd never seen this until we've done it for Spielberg month. So the only time I've ever seen clips from this movie was the Spielberg documentary on HBO. I guess.
Yeah, I've seen like clips. I think the most famous clip in the movie might be him on the rooftop with the plane going by.
Sure. For me, it was the potato thing.
I'm familiar with.
I'm familiar with the potato and the Nagasaki thing, but we'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. That as well.
I gotta tell you, seeing Christian Bale like at this stage of the movie before he goes through everything, but just seeing him right here is like, oh my god! Just seeing, I've never seen Christian Bale this young. I mean, I've seen him in Newsies. This is even younger than that.
Okay, you know what's crazy is that it's kind of a weird arc where it's like the more shit is thrown Christian Bale's way in this movie, the more he starts to resemble the older, more hardened Christian Bale. You know what? Do you see that?
I kind of do. Now, okay, real quick, I love that. Look at all these visual notes that were hidden here. See the comic he's reading, this Wings comic. If you notice, the figure on top of the comic, it again resembles what he's going to look like throughout the movie. Again, kind of the more adult version of himself with like the jacket and the sunglasses, the whole shebang. Of course, here we have the beggar outside of the residence that he kind of the fancy mansion that he lives at.
And I didn't get a chance to rewatch this movie either, Dragon, so I might be coming up with shades of stuff that happens and crosses with each other as we're doing this. So that's kind of exciting.
Right. We do a lot with perspective in this movie, specifically with the James character. I love how we just have him kind of like it feels very familiar. Like we've all been there in our youth, where we kind of see. It kind of brings back our looking at the outside world, like when he's looking at the beggar, like from the back window. It just sounded like you're a kid just seeing what you see and just kind of perceiving the details like that. And then there are other scenes which we'll get to where he's in the scene as bigger things than what he's considering in the moment, because he has that childhood bliss going on there. He's not really picking up on the severity of the times.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of that in this movie, and frankly, it's pretty risky storytelling to have your main character so enthralled by such dark subject matter. But man, as you get into the movie, it's a really interesting narrative thread to pull with a character like this. It's a very unique take on childhood naivete.
I love what we have to say about opulence in this movie. We have literally they're wasting money. It's like you're using money as golf tees right now, just like literally throwing money away practically.
Right.
And it's just basically, again, I love how we're setting Act 1 basically is probably the most kind of most pulled from real life, I'd imagine. Like Act 1 is the most I think we're setting up a whole lot in
the most boringest.
Right.
No, I'm serious though. Act 1, it's got some interesting shades that'll get paid off later, but it's pretty damn slow. I mean,
you're right. Look, you're right about.
I feel like the movie picks up once Malkovich enters the picture.
Well, you're right about that. And there's a question where Act 1 ends, because again, it's kind of a long movie. So Act 1, it's a little.
I feel the separation is where Act 1 ends.
That's a fair point, but you gotta remember that would be. you could look at it that way, and I wouldn't fault you for it. But you could also look at it as when they are brought to when they are captured.
Yeah. That's a good point, folks. You'll have to bear with us. Dragon and I, we really talk the 3-act structure a lot when it comes to Spielberg. As a matter of fact, Dragon, I don't know if you remember this, but I actually learned the 3-act structure. My filmmaking teacher taught me Sorry, my filmmaking teacher in high school. Hey there, Knox, if you're listening. He actually taught me the 3-act structure through E.T. So I definitely have a sense of familiarity with 3-act structure through Spielberg. So I always like to analyze that kind of stuff with him. Anyway,
this one I'm talking about with perspective here, where again he's like just grabbing a snack in the middle of the night, and you kind of like the bigger issues are playing, but he's just seeing like the direct correlation with family right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that Pearl Harbor,
both facade that they're trying to live in the background while that's what the first act is. It's like kind of setting up his luxurious lifestyle and kind of like the status quo that's of course going to get pulled out from under him. It's very much a classical hero's journey arc, if you will, when you think about it in those terms.
Yes, he's being separated from the familiar world and kind of cast out. All that, yeah.
Well, I told Steven to do. No, I'm not going to go down that road. I played with it for half a second and just didn't feel right. Anyway.
So on a rewatch, this I think played a little better for me in the rewatch. This whole kind of God being basically associating flight with God. That's kind of an interesting idea, given how much flight and just kind of the sky plays into this film.
I would wager to say that. I mean, I wouldn't even wager to say. I think it's pretty definitive that the airplane is the main symbol of the movie. Like the airplane.
Oh no, you're right about that. Yeah.
The airplane and the sun itself, I'd say, are probably the two big symbols.
Yes.
All right.
Again, the sky. Honestly, just the sky in general. The sky.
Yeah.
Of course, this image right here, him being tucked in the bed, that's going to pay off big with a reoccurring symbol at the internment camp later on. Like he has the Norman Rockwell painting. Well, the Norman Rockwell magazine, poster.
Uh-huh.
It's literally that image of like two kids being tucked in bed by the mother and father. So it's literally what this scene's kind of setting up there. Also, so I just want to get this in there before, as it's kind of been floating around right now, like when the scene with the father, it's just kind of played out. So the idea, Tiki, and what the opening crawl conveyed is that Pearl Harbor. I thought this was kind of fascinating in the history of it all, because I wasn't super tuned into the history on the Japanese internment camps outside of the U.S. But the Pearl Harbor essentially worked as a green light for the Japanese to invade China. The idea is like the Japanese were basically surrounding China, just waiting to make their move, and there's kind of menacingly waiting, as we kind of do in one of my favorite scenes, I think one of the most standout scenes in the movie, in Act 1 at least, coming up. But we'll get there when we get there. I just love the fact that we're basically this plays into the really big idea of the movie on the rewatch, where Malkovich's character, where Basie basically warns him that it's not about enduring the war itself. It's about the before and after. It's about the before and after of war. Right now, that I think that helps re-strengthen the before, and like the kind of yes, Act 1 is slow, but again, I think it kind of punches it up a little on a rewatch. I'd argue that much, but you're right. So.
I mean, like I said, it's less to do with the actual intent of the movie, because it is very much supposed to be like an epic arc, for sure. Like the character does come a long way from beginning to end. My main fear is just as we establish in Act 1, it's just kind of like, all right, I don't necessarily know how many talking points we're going to necessarily hit with this stuff. But again, maybe that's just me being less confident than I should be at my own podcasting strengths.
All right, so the idea, by the way, with Shanghai in the early 40s, like late 30s, early 40s, was that apparently Shanghai was the Paris of the East. That's like the nickname for what Shanghai was back before the war. It was Paris of the East, where you had 400 nightclubs. You had beggars in the street. Basically, there was no rules. And the idea is the Westerners brought the architecture to the place. That's why it has specifically the English. The English brought the architecture within this. This is called where our characters live right now, the kind of the leisurely lap of luxury kind of section of Shanghai. That's called the International Settlement. The international settlement, basically, it's kind of like, again, it's sort of like, it's kind of the vacation spot that was just kind of like more, it basically lasted longer than any ordinary. It wasn't a tourist spot, but it was like kind of the tourists who went there, built the skyscrapers, built the buildings, and they just kind of, just kind of lingered there, and they kind of declared this section of their own. And basically, as our characters are making their way to the party here, they leave. We get to the checkpoint. The checkpoint basically separates the settlement from just kind of like separates the settlement from basically the kind of the some of the internment going on there. Just kind of they're trying to keep out the riffraff from like the international settlement, which is kind of like, yes, they're bringing, they're helping us here, so we got to make sure these guys are kind of cut off from this kind of the riffraff. We're just going to be, basically they kind of separate. It's kind of a class system within itself. They kind of describe it as like a country within a country is the way the international settlement works, and that's why James's worldview is way off. He grew up here, but again, as far as he grew up, it's kind of more scenic London as far as he's concerned.
Makes sense, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So you got to remember, Tiki, this was really great in the behind the scenes, by the way. Seeing Spielberg, I love seeing Spielberg work with the extras here, because again, they shot on location as much as they could. Basically, all of this stuff is on location in Shanghai, with actual Chinese actors, for the Shanghai portions, and a lot of those were people. Again, this is like kind of I'm not going to say a taboo subject. This is a subject that was barely touched on. So again, seeing this reconstructed, like you had to reconstruct the checkpoints for this. And there you had a lot of older Chinese.
What? They're kind of here stylistically this is a much better movie than this other movie I'm going to mention, but stylistically it reminds me of War of the Worlds.
I think as it goes on, like
kind of just like the panic. I'm saying like not necessarily the movie itself, but like just specifically the shots of like the crowds.
Yeah.
Oh God! And meanwhile, is that checkpoint drama is going on? We have these ritzy upper class motherfuckers in their costumes.
So I can't recall who in this scene, but J.G. Ballard is an extra in this scene. He has a cameo within this scene. The writer of the book.
Uh-huh.
So this is what I'm talking about. Look at the framing here. So this conversation's going again about the pre-war stuff, and Jim is in the scene though, giving us like, here's why we the audience are hearing this, because he's grabbing snacks around the table, not paying much mind to it, but we're setting up what the conflict's going to be, what the undercurrent is. So again, like Spielberg with that crawl and with this conversation is really setting up, okay, this is what's going to happen, folks. Just in case you're not history buffs, here's what's going to happen. This is what the climate is right now.
Oh God, it'd be like watching Schindler's List and being like, look, they're living in like overstuffed apartments, but it's not too bad. It's kind of fun in its own nomadic way.
And again, just the opulent tourist. That's essentially that's the class that Jim's coming from, and that's what all this is about. Just kind of the high society guys who, again, like we're the MS. We have textile plants. We're industrialists, and we can have Asian servants, and we can just kind of treat them like crap. Even Jim treats his like crap, and it's unfortunate because she really lets him have it later on there. But again, he kind of had it coming. I do like this bit here where this, I believe this guy is the one from later on who kind of tells him we have to leave. When we're in the football stadium, but when we get there. Point being, I believe this guy. I like he's saying, "You're my eyes and ears in the war, Jim," which of course is a big foreshadow to what he is in the internment camp.
Sure.
So here so in Act One really, I believe this is a moment for me when Act One really picks up, where Jim. Well, after a little flight of fantasy, I think when Jim he's throwing the plane and he kind of finds, we have this really great striking shot here, real Spielbergian shot where he's walking in this open field. He comes across the plane, which of course the plane symbolizes his hopes, because the idea is like Jim, he doesn't get war, but what he does get about war, any kid could get about war without really knowing what war is all about. The ins and outs of it is, it's the gadgets, it's the machinery, it's the fun stuff, you're just looking at it from like, oh my God, it's cool to see planes. It's like the parade mentality. Like, hey, look, the planes are going by, look, and they're shooting each other. It's the Red Baron appeal of war. Again, that's the thing. All of his dreams and all of the thing this kid's so obsessed with right now is kind of flight and the novelty of war. Not like and again throughout the course of the movie, as the arc goes, he learns the downside and kind of the strife of war and how it affects the man on the ground. Where we see how it affects. He comes to learn firsthand how war affects the man on the ground, but he's seeing it as, again, he's focused on how war is in the sky. That's kind of like that's the Hollywood sell of war. That's like the Howard Hughesian sell of war. Like, you're shooting like, oh, look at it, it's it's the Scarface in planes, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I do love the sunglasses. The classic pilot sunglasses he's got on right now. I mean, basically, after this is kind of cutesy, but I mean, do we really need it? I mean, it's
no, we really don't. We really.
This is what I'm talking about. I feel Act One and points in the movie have bits like this where, I mean, yeah, it's kind of cool, but do we need like just one scene later on?
Specifically? Here's the thing: it's like, just to set up for our finale for this year. I have no idea. I don't know if you've watched it yet or not, but like I am terrified. I am terrified that Always is just going to be chock full of shit like this.
Okay, but all seriousness, so basically after we have that bit that's like, yeah, we maybe don't, it's kind of nice, but do we really need it? Here's a bit that we absolutely need. I love this bit. This is where the movie really started to come alive for me. Before it was like, we're setting up status quo, and we had like the effective coffin shop. It's like okay, I think I get where they're going here. Lap of luxury. Basically, it all comes into focus as the movie goes on. This is the bit where it really kind of dawns on you, about what the opening crawl was setting up. You're like, oh my god, they're waiting to take over. It's such a tense sequence here when he sees the Japanese just preparing, just kind of camping out, just kind of waiting on the sidelines to make their move.
Yeah.
Knowing what they know, they're waiting for the Pearl Harbor attack.
It's a great Spielbergian horror reveal.
I just love the sheer tension.
Boat dragon.
And they're kind of laughing at the kid too, and that's what I'm talking about. Like this sort of stuff right here. You don't know
because of his ridiculous, freaking culturally inappropriate outfit. Probably.
Yeah. Exactly. And again, I just love the intensity of like, Jim, don't run coming up here. We're just like, it's just like this. It's a really tense situation. It's like an army of soldiers, right? And here's the Spielberg's directing very well right here, where it's the simple thing where as he goes forward, as he goes back to his father, the army arises and they all stand there. They don't move. They just stand there.
Mm-hmm.
They all slowly come up. It's like, oh god, what's gonna happen? So this moment, I read it, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, you read it a different way. I read it as this was the wake-up call for Jim's father here, where the idea is like Jim's father, he was burning documents and stuff, and basically he was like hearing everyone at the party and on the radios kind of talk about like a war is imminent, people are, basically there were 30,000 people there and people were starting to leave. I want to say on the radio they said like 15,000 left, and at points like half the people have already left knowing some bad stuff's about to happen. This to me was the wake-up call for Jim's father, that okay, look, the John Graham Ballard character.
Yeah.
Like my son was in very, very, again, the threat literally looked at my son in the eye. We got to get out of here. And that's pretty much what his friends telling him here. Like, yeah, you guys should you take the wife and kid and get out of here as soon as you can. And considering where the story goes, because I believe it's like that very night, at least the way it kind of leads you to believe, that very night's when we're kind of like, basically, we're kind of an exodus in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of crowds. And what I was speaking to earlier is I love that Spielberg. I love seeing him direct, direct in another country, and just seeing him have like there again people. Who just I love seeing his passion. He's really communicating his passion. He's been really charming too in the behind the scenes with with the Chinese extras and just having a grand time with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is probably the most extras in a Spielberg movie up till this point, right? Would that be a bet?
Up to this point, yes. If you say up to this point, then sure.
And I definitely think that's a cool thing that sort of sets a precedent for, like I said, like stuff like War of the Worlds, like stuff where big crowds are going to be like pivotal to his style. Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, stuff like that.
I mean, as I'm saying, Schindler's List easily probably beat it out in terms of number of extras.
Oh, easily, yeah. But I'm just saying, up until this point, like this probably like paved the way for Schindler's List in terms of working with extras.
I love the symbol of the little Mustang plane that he has here, little silver plane that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, how it comes in the fray in terms of the separation. Again, kind of literally like the hopes and dreams in like a single totem kind of what we have here. Okay, now here's the thing. So this is really a slight alteration, but I think comes across a little bit more cinematically. It conveys a big historical detail. So here's the thing. So J.G. Ballard, of course, he had this again. At pretty much Act One, all the perennial separation things. All of that is pretty much like that's straight. That's pretty straightforward. J.G. Ballard went through, and it was a tank that woke he and his family up in the middle of the night. They kind of told them they have to get out of there. So this boat by the water thing. This I believe is in reference to the fact that again they were surrounding Pearl Harbor, just waiting, like the soldiers were waiting, just like when Jim just kind of wandered by. So we kind of had, I think, a little homage to the history of the fact here. So I thought it was kind of a good change. Again, this is such a Spielberg thing here with the light. Just like you signal the ship, and of course you may or may not have accidentally led to a misfire.
Oh God! Right.
This is just great. Like it was a joke. It was a joke. Oh God! Terrified if that happened to me as this kid is.
And then this is pretty much what gets the movie sort of like, we've been spending about 20 minutes kind of establishing the ritzy lifestyle of these people, and now the ritzy lifestyle is about to get kicked out from under them. So, I mean, pacing wise, that's not too bad. I mean, like you said, stuff like the flight of fantasy sequence maybe could have been trimmed out a little bit, but we're keeping it a relatively good clip, I guess.
Yeah. Well, basically, there are parts where, again, it's just taking a breath, but maybe taking a breath too many at times here, where we're going to we meander a little bit with the kid while he's just kind of laying in wait after the separation. We'll get there when we get there, obviously, but it's like the moments like that were like the moments where, again, it's kind of like the flight of fantasy, where it's like, I mean, it's good, but, not exactly sure. So, again, I like the bird's eye view of kind of the things going on down below here. Again, like the pieces taking shape.
Yeah, some nice like overhead tracking shots for sure.
Yep.
Good stuff.
So by the way, this Exodus, like this scene right here, where they're all just trying to get out of Dodge here. So this is kind of historic. This is very historic what Spielberg did here. So again, at the time, you got to remember. So the big reason they shot in Shanghai is in circa 1987, Shanghai hadn't changed in 50 years. It hadn't. Pretty much identical to when things went down. And the only thing they had to alter was for this scene here, where there's a lot more traffic these days than there was back then.
Yeah.
And they had to clear the streets, which had not been done basically ever in Shanghai until Spielberg did it.
Really?
Yeah, it's
That's crazy.
Well, I love the Packard, by the way. The Packard is a great symbol, and I always, I know we passed already, but just while we have the Packard on screen for a bit here, I love the hood ornament of the Packard. Is basically, it's kind of a silver swan, a really swanky-looking silver swan.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of read that as, again, it kind of embodies what the international settlement's all about. It's all about again, we're taking kind of like a natural symbol of this land, and we're kind of making it all swanky and like ritzy, where again the times are not suggesting it as ritzy and swanky if you were outside of your little fantasy world right now. If you're outside your little tourist spot right now.
Cultural appropriation. I mean, that is very much what these people are kind of engaging in at the start.
Yeah. Again, this is terrifying. You're so
claustrophobic. Dragon, I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but
no, you're right. But this is the more appropriate War of the Worlds comparison.
Like, sequence.
Yeah. Well, very terrifying. Everybody's just like trying to get in like the one vehicle and one of the few vehicles in town. This to me is really terrifying, especially on a rewatch. You're like, oh my God, that tank was going to crush their car, seemingly, because we know the car makes it for later on. But yeah, like this other car behind is getting crushed.
Right.
Of course, in retrospect, I did know something in retrospect. Jim should have put that plane in his pocket. Maybe the whole movie wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a plot convenience.
This is in hindsight, because I'm sure the pants don't have pockets. I know he's got stuff in the other pockets, but I mean, come on, really? You couldn't just put the plane in the pocket? Basically, again, I haven't seen. I'm not going to say it's on the same level, but I mean, Shazam was one of the most recent memories of like child separation from the parent. In kind of recent memory when you drop an object to do it too. Oh god, this is horrifying here.
Right.
There's a bit of a parallel. I'm not the one first to bring this up. There's a bit of a parallel from there's a bit of a theme of a bit of a thematic kind of parallel to Spielberg here, where again it's the separation of parent from child. Basically, I believe he's implied it to be like how a kid feels in a divorce, where again you're separated from your parents, and it's like like a
Wow,
whole
a Spielberg movie going into the themes of like how a kid deals with a divorce. That's wow.
So in essence, while divorce isn't a direct theme of the movie, again, we've kind of
Yeah, yeah.
visualized what a kid probably feels during a divorce. You're just crying out for a parent, and they're both kind of separated and taken from you. Of course, this is the line that really gets him into trouble here in the grand scheme of things. Like, go home, I'll find you there, go home.
Mhm.
Of course, if you really think of it, literally going home is what gets him thrown in the internment camp in the first place. Oh, I gotta tell you, so there's a plot hole in this movie for me, a big one, where I know he's gonna be surrendered. He's not surrendering 100% quite yet, but I mean, tell me if this doesn't bug you a little bit that he keeps surrendering people and just literally no one's hunting for him, like no one's throwing him in the internment camp. He's just kind of laying in wait, wandering around. Where well, wouldn't you think they'd get him immediately?
No, it's like I think the joke of it is that nobody's taking him seriously enough to actually go through with bringing him in. You know, it's like they probably have better things to do in their mind. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, what's funny is it's almost kind of like a situation where it's like once he's actually in the internment camp, he kind of does more damage to them from the inside.
That's true. Oh, really great transition, by the way, when we kind of pull the bodies away and we just have like the black smoke in the sky. Just a really good
Oh,
visual.
very dark, yeah.
And of course, just oh my goodness, I love the just the desertion within the streets here. Just the idea is like everybody's like gotten out of town in the international settlement, and now he's just again he's following his mother's orders, and he's just going to a deserted home and just walking the streets, and you see it's a freaking ghost town. Of course, the again, but I guess Spielberg doing what he does best here. Like we're hitting all the little visual cues here. Where yes, the beggar's little tin cup
Mhm.
is on the ground. Like he's gone. We have no idea what happened to him, but he's gone. So this is kind of a parallel to stuff that's even it's gone on decades later as well. Where when people are at war, they conquer things. They take possession. It's kind of like taking possession of something when you're in a state of war that's guilty, not just of the Japanese back then, but as well as like during like the CIA had the capability to like war on terror. They can take dominion over things as well. So
Sure, sure.
it's kind of a common war practice. It's scary. It's kind of a heady, scary war practice when you really think about it. It's like it's like the intimacies of home just kind of taken away from you. Like again, it kind of weighs into what it weighs into the with the John Malkovich's character. Sorry, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now, but Basie. Sorry. Part of me wants to say Belize, but I know it's not Belize because that's a running.
Oh, God.
I keep wanting. I don't know why. The point being Basie. One way it kind of gives credence to what Basie's philosophy is again about the before and after of war. There, where again it's like something intimate is taken, that you're not going to be able to go back there. So what are you going to do now? Is that sort of question. Okay, this is what I'm talking about here. This is like meandering stuff right here. I still don't fully get this scene here in the grand. It's kind of a pointless scene at the end of the day because here's what the scene's supposed to be about, and what it kind of communicates is that James goes home, and this was my reading. The only sense I can make of it is that he goes home. All this powder has kind of spilled on the place, and as far as he's concerned, again, it's like him not knowing exactly what's going on. His mother told him to go home. Presumably, he sees his mother's footsteps here, but then we see like kind of like a struggle is gone here. So at the end of the day, we know she got out. So there's just really no question about what the heck are we looking at the end of the day, right?
It's very
I mean, do you know what this scene's about?
no, I really don't. I mean, now that you mention it, like I said, Dragon, I never really had a chance to rewatch this movie. So on my initial watch, I just remember all the stuff when he goes back to the mansion kind of dragging and being part of the pacing problem. So
It looks like someone with bare feet run around the place, and now it seems like that person was dragged out. And I
I mean, I
presume
think
it's
the idea is it's just sort of supposed to visually symbolize that people have been in the house, but just, yeah, the powder itself is just very conveniently, like, just scattered around.
I mean, you might be again. I didn't consider that one either. I just considered it was like the correlation to the mother. But the point being, hey, I guess people have been in the house as well. So yeah, you raise a point. Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. It's just still it's kind of a weird bit to hit that we don't really. I don't know. I don't think it's as clear as it's supposed to be.
No, I hear you.
And this bit's kind of like a again. This bit's kind of a haunting kind of bit of karma here, where he gets hit by by the Asian manservant here, and that's this is like something Spielberg rarely ever gets the opportunity to do when you do stuff like this to the kids.
Because Spielberg's just lying in bed at night wanting to do that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Now, I'm sorry, in all seriousness, one of the things I came upon with my research of this movie is that Spielberg was grappling at the time with the struggles of being a parent in terms of like having antagonistic feelings towards your own kids, like, in those moments where they're really stressing you out. Like, frankly, I thought the cold open to episode 1 of The Leftovers did this better than most, where it's just like kids might be the bane of your existence sometimes, but what would you ever do without them? What would you do if they just suddenly vanished, and so I think that some of that is kind of at play with the I'm willing to guess that Spielberg directed Bale to act like a realistically annoying kid. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have kind of like that starry-eyed, like, whimsical quality that a lot of other Spielberg kids have. He's a lot more rough around the edges.
He is. Well, again, he is awfully spoiled, but again, he's not entirely unsympathetic, though. I think that was the brilliant line that he hit there, where he is a little entitled, and we see where the entitlement comes from all throughout the visuals of the very beginning of the movie. Where I mean, he's like literally lighting planes on fire for the poor manservant to they kind of deal with, and we have like all this all this stuff going on. But again, like the kid, again, we come to like him throughout the movie as well. So I mean, he's not all bad, but again, he did come from. I mean, I think what we do, especially when we get to Basie, though, is Basie's like kind of calling him like, "Oh my God, you're awfully well spoken, aren't you?" And this is the kind of stuff right here where we're just meandering around. Where again, I get the point. Where okay, so he's just the idea is he's waiting. I love the passage of time. The passage of time, of course, is the fact that he's been just waiting, and basically he ate through all the food that's left in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And when he runs out, he's going to have to seek, food and shelter someplace else. But that's the thing. I mean, aside from passage of time, it's just kind of this does have a payoff. So I can't really fault it as being a pointless scene, because the payoff here is that he's just he's eating all through the resources. He's kind of biking through the place, as he will do at the very end of the movie with the place he calls home. Then so he's doing it in home here, and he's doing what he would deem as his new home by the end of the movie. So it does make, and of course, passage of time as well, with like the pool evaporating from the water evaporating from the pool. Well, it shouldn't say, you know what I mean. Just going down is probably flooding out all sorts of stuff.
Right, but I'm glad you mentioned the bike scene, because that is a nice contrast, because in this situation, it's almost kind of like a Home Alone, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, no parents, so I can bike in the house, got to fill up my time somehow. But then at the end of the movie, it does have more of a poignant weight, because we've seen all the stuff that this character has carried on his back throughout the internment camp section. So you're right, there are little bits and pieces that pay off. I just wish it was better paced.
Yep. Of course, I'm going to wager to say the silver dollar might be a symbol of the father figure here, because you have, again, his father's the one who used that silver dollar. And then, of course, Basie's the one who basically does all the tricks, and he takes the silver dollar. So again, I think it's kind of the transition. I think it's kind of a visual, like kind of like the totem of the father figure, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So right here we have kind of a good kind of day-night setup here. So again, the idea is I kind of read it as an intentional mistake on an intentional mistake in the plotting here. In that, so James sees like they're looting the houses, and I think at the course of the movie he forgets that. I think we communicate a kid forgetting something really well. where he's kind of distracted by people saying, come on, yeah, get out of here. And of course, later on, he thinks, yeah, we can go back to the houses and kind of loot them for all the valuable stuff. But he's forgotten in the midst of everything, being plumb tired and hungry and everything, that he's forgotten, like, oh no, wait a minute, they've already picked through the stuff, they've already taken over the house.
Right.
There's a little fun fact here. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, of course, Christian Bale. One of the things he's known for, Batman. And it's kind of funny that in some of the Scott Snyder stories, he's when we see Bruce Wayne in his youth, he's wearing the school uniform, he's wearing the schoolboy outfit, which is kind of funny.
So this is a very young Bruce Wayne.
Yes, one could say. I got to tell you, if someone. I know the editing would never work, but in a perfect world, oh my god! If you had a bad movie where you
edit in basically make an extended cut of Batman Begins with childhood flashbacks.
What I'm saying, if there's like a reel of just Christian Bale footage in other, I guess more specifically, what I'm saying is if you had a Batman movie with flashbacks, if they could somehow compile the young Christian Bale performances, because again, if they made a Batman movie way back, if they had a time machine, just like the fully fleshed out, if we could use young Christian Bale,
if they took the Boyhood approach to it.
I suppose, basically, you would have the, basically retell the, when Bruce Wayne loses his parents. Imagine how mind blowing that would be if you had the footage of Christian Bale as the young child actor losing his parents.
That would be crazy if it's just in some Spielbergian Prince vault somewhere.
And then, of course, years later, you have the Nolan franchise, where again you'd have an older Christian Bale with the younger Christian Bale. Again, flight of fantasy, folks.
This is total just like nonsense we're talking on about.
Okay, this, however, is a little fun fact. So,
as much nonsense as always going to be.
No, seriously. So, Gone with the Wind, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Tarzan went over really big in Shanghai. That's why it's there.
Really?
Yeah, the old cinematic classics. They went over really big in Shanghai. Again, this is kind of still kind of borderline, the Aritzia district, the international settlement. So again, like they had that really nice theater from earlier on. They'd probably be playing these movies there. So yeah, right. Like they had neon, they had the glitz and glamour. Again, it was Paris at night. Ideally, that was kind of the sell. It was kind of like Paris meets Vegas. That was kind of the kind of what it was like back there. At least that's what the implication is. Yeah. Okay, this guy weird.
This guy's a little bit terrifying.
He is. There's just something. Here's the thing. I saw. Remember, this kid was there earlier. He was kind of a beggar on the window, like basically saying the "No mama, no papa." It's like "No mama, no papa," and
good boy, come now.
Yeah, this kid creeps me out. It's just the fact that he doesn't give up. He just keeps running after him. What do you think he has anymore?
Right.
I mean, he's got a few things on him, but I mean, really nothing of substance.
Okay, so now the surrender bit, like I think it's poignant. I just think it goes on a little too long.
I know, that's the thing. See, this is my problem with the Bible.
It's poignant, the fact that he's trying to surrender, but no one's taking him seriously.
I mean, Tiki, that's my problem. Like earlier on, when he's saying surrender, they all laugh at him. Like surrender, like that works for me. But later on, the fact that he keeps doing it so often, literally in front of a line of soldiers, no one's taking him in. Where apparently we see an American, we take him in, but the British, I mean, we're just going to let him fly. And of course, they haven't turned the British. So that's my logical problem with this movie. Like, why we're doing it for the convenience of storytelling? I understand we need him to meet Basie. I get it.
Yeah.
I just feel like this whole chase in the grand scheme of things, it's like, we just need to get him from point A to point B. I don't know. This rickshaw gag is kind of, it is kind of funny that if you notice, during the rickshaw kind of gag here, they're making their way kind of through the street, through the crossing. Jim's getting like, they're all laughing at the novelty of Jim, where the beggar's like, go get out of here, where he's just like, yeah, look at this guy. You notice.
Yeah, I mean, with this film, it's interesting because it's like you can tell that Spielberg is almost sort of like cutting his teeth with the dramatic, if you will. You know what I mean? Like you can see some of those rough spots that are still there that he's going to eventually iron out. To the point where, like in the 2000s and even up until now, he's mostly doing dramatic stuff. Stuff like the BFG and Ready Player One is more of outlier stuff from Spielberg these days.
Of course, just help me, I'm British. Out of context, it's quite hilarious. Christian Bale yelling as a boy running through the streets, "Help me, I'm British."
Oh man,
I gotta admit, it's kind of funny in retrospect.
is that a meme of any kind? You
No,
know,
I just came up with it. I don't know if it's.
because you're right. It does. It sounds like something that would be memed.
I'm sorry. Look at like the. I'm sorry.
Python gag.
I just came up. I'm sorry. I just noticed this right now, where the Baker kid. He basically put him in a headlock for he climbed up a building and he just dropped down on him. Like, really, this kid is going to insane lengths to rob this kid. I mean, I completely forgot the fact that he dropped down from up top. Like, oh my god,
Right?
It's kind of ridiculous.
Talking about Batman, this Baker kid should be Batman.
What am I talking about? All right, so here's a great actor. So this guy here, this is I want to get his name right here, Joe Pantoliano. Joe Pantoliano. He plays Frank. Now he's known for the big thing that he's known for. He was in The Sopranos, the early seasons of Sopranos. He played Ralphie, and basically kind of a psychotic character that kind of had to be dealt with. So he's kind of the Tuco of the Sopranos, of the Soprano crime family. Well, again, I shouldn't say Soprano crime. I don't want to get into the whole semantical thing about. Well, I mean, there's the Soprano family, but they're not necessarily the crime family.
Yeah.
Point being, there's that, and of course, he played Ben Urich in the Ben Affleck Daredevil. Well, fun fact. Yeah, this guy is a good actor.
Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah. So Jon Favreau was Foggy, right?
Yeah, he's really good as Foggy.
Okay, for some reason I thought Jon Favreau was Ben Urich. Okay, my bad.
No. This guy was Urich.
I revisited that one.
Yeah, Kevin Smith was in that movie. He played Kevin Smith. He played the coroner. Anyway. So now Jim has been found by Frank and is going to be taken to the safety of the Americans. So again, that was kind of the thing. So I'm going into this movie. I don't know why. I didn't piece it together because again, I like history, but I don't know everything about history, obviously. But going to this movie, I assumed like, okay, we're gonna I think as you and I may have had the similar assertion, it's going to be kind of the Americans dealing with the Japanese internment camp. But the whole the British angle again. But the point is, I learned something from this movie, folks, and I came away learning something. A little something about the.
Dragon, I'm glad you bring that up because that's the thing. It's like this movie very much is in the vein of like I don't know, like a Lincoln or The Post, where it's like. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a better movie than either of those, but it's very much a classroom movie.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if this wasn't shown in a classroom. I didn't see it in a classroom. I would be shocked if other classrooms didn't show this.
I
love how I don't know if you noticed this. I love how we build up Basie here. Like we don't see Basie's eyes until he's beaten later in the movie.
I did notice that. Yeah, and it's classic Spielberg kind of building up the important figure.
Of course, Basie played by the wonderful John Malkovich, who recently we saw in Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile.
Well, that's right. I forgot he was in that. Yeah.
Of course, the Basie is a very interesting character. He's you and I on a regular basis, we have characters that we love that are kind of complicated and that they're really nice guys, but of course, there's kind of like sometimes there's a catch, like Gene Cousineau from Barry. Gene Cousineau, of course, lovely character, but by the same token, again, he's an LA actor who, of course, he has a little bit of he's spinning people to an extent. Like he'll have a heartwarming moment with you, but he'll charge you for the acting session.
Right,
a heartwarming moment. And here with Basie, of course, has the Malkovich charm for days. He does. By the same token, again, Basie, what he's doing here is he wants to sell this kid. All the stuff that he's doing. When he checks his teeth, he's going to sell this kid, presumably into slavery of some variety.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting contrast with these two. I don't necessarily think it's the most well-developed two leads that Spielberg's ever done, like not by a long shot, frankly, because I just don't think these two have enough camera time together. I really think that for as significant of a role as they play in the story, we don't necessarily... I don't know. I don't mean to criticize it in that way. We get plenty of Basie, but I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm sorry.
All right, so Basie again. I also want to point out because he was pulling out all the items on James's person here. He pulls out the comic, and of course the comic yet again has a character with the aviator shades and kind of a jacket going on there. Where we have that again with kind of our introduction of Basie. So again, we have a little bit of a hero correlation between James and Basie here. Where again, it's kind of the idea is that James will eventually become his own hero. He will become the characters that he's read about. But of course, building to that point, he has characters like Basie kind of filling that role right now. I think that's
and Basie, of course, being I would say he's a poster child for the Spielbergian complicated father figure.
Exactly. Which again, he takes the silver dollar and he has magic, with the silver dollar, silver dollar. That's again the totem of something he got from his father that he is, kind of, that Basie has for the majority of the movie.
Right.
But again, I'd say Malkovich is just he's just a charming guy. I don't know why he's just so magnetic that Malkovich.
Well, you know what's great about this performance is that it's a complicated character with questionable morals, but he's not a straight up villain.
No, he's not a villain at all. No.
So typecast as a villain throughout the last 20 years or so that seeing a role this nuanced from him was really refreshing.
That's the thing. He's not a villain, but he's looking out for himself before he's looking out for the kid. And he makes no bones about that. Where he takes a genuine liking to the kid, but he will leave him if it means his own freedom.
Exactly.
He will. And again, part of me would look at it too as he's really taking and kind of coming to hero worship Basie because he's an American, presumably like the comic book. Look, I'm not saying it's purely because of the comic book thing, which, of course, by the way, I meant to mention this earlier. This is supposed to be my Batman reference of the whole thing. Was supposed to be like if he was reading a Batman comic, because again, it's the 40s. If he was reading a Batman comic. Flight of Fantasy, folks. Never going to happen. It was a Warner Brothers movie, though. I want to point that out, though. If anyone would have had the rights to it.
Oh, God.
I know it was pretty 89, but still. Anyway. All right, the fact of the matter is.
It was pre-89, but you got to think that Batman 89 was at least in pre-production, early pre-production at this point.
It was. I think honestly, I'm not saying they had to, because again, they're going for the aviator correlation with the fictional comic character on the cover. Obviously, that's what they're going with. But technically, it's probably it wouldn't have been there regardless, because
your headcanon of them knowing from an early age that Christian Bale was going to be Batman so badly. You just want that to be true so badly.
I would love to live in a reality where Spielberg is somehow responsible for the
Oh God! Oh my God!
Oh, but if Penny's
the character is a character that comes from a glitzy upper class lifestyle, and then some bad shit happens to him, and he has to kind of adjust his whole worldview around it.
He has a mentor character. He learns a lot of tricks of the trade. He loses his parents, at least for a while.
We could talk about this for days.
Right. Anyway, so this one I'm talking about right here with the morally questionable quality here, where again he's trying to sell the kid right here. And again, after this scene, he tries to sell the kid, and of course they kind of part ways, because that's all he literally tosses the coin back to him as a sense of, again, it's kind of a nod of respect. He doesn't just take all the kid's possessions; he gives him back the coin as a way. It's kind of a twofold thing. Or one, it's like, okay, our business is concluded. You can have your coin back, but it's also like I'm rejecting you as he's the father figure, kind of rejecting his totem.
Right, and of course, the hero worship of him versus the reality of how much he actually respects the kid is going to come into play is the big point of the arc.
And what I love right here, this is where the beginning of their dynamic really, really starts here, where again he's trying to ingratiate himself to Basie here, where he's trying to kind of prove his value here, hey, I can still be of use to you. He basically, again, he's kind of impressing Basie right here, saying, I've seen some rich pickings. He picks up on the fact that this guy's, he did try to sell him. He knows he tried to sell him, but again,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's the thing. It's when we get to the whole looting the houses thing, it's I have a feeling that he's just trying to get himself in with Basie. I don't even necessarily think that he, you made the point about him seeing the the house is already being looted, but I don't even necessarily think he believes that there's anything left to lose. I just think in his own mind, he just wants to get with someone as soon as possible. You know, he just needs to get with a group, and he'll say anything to do that. I don't know. That's why I read it.
Well, I mean, you're right about that, Tiki. What I'm saying is, it's a question of like, is he going back desperate enough to hope that there's something left, or is he going back forgetting that? Oh wait, no, I didn't think they were going to like literally live in the houses that they're going to, you know, that they've already picked through. And that's saying it's a question like if he forgot that. Oh well, you know, after they've taken everything, they're going to live there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point. Right. Well, the point being, yes, he is going there. Hopefully, just kind of find something of value. It's a question of if he forgot that they've already stolen the stuff or not.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he has been through a lot. Let's not. Again, he's a kid, and he was 12 years old, and he's been through a lot. Looks younger than 12, but then again, I don't know why. I don't know why I can't pick up on like nuances of age with the kids these days. I don't know why. I swear to God, every time I just feel
the point where like 90% of the cast of Big Brother is younger than you, you know that you're old, right? It's like when I go to see West Side Story and like 90% of the cast is younger than me, I know I'm fucking old. Anyways.
Way to bum everyone out. By the way, I love that if you notice, like Frank just really doesn't like the kid. He's really jealous and he's really intimidated. Basically, as the years go on, as Jim becomes more and more Basie's pal, Frank feels incredibly threatened, and he just becomes.
Is Ben Stiller hanging out in the background of the scene, or does he come later?
Later, Tiki. Later.
Okay. I'm sorry. Just point him out when he shows up, because it's like he's so much of a background, insignificant character that's kind of funny.
He does technically have a big role, technically.
He does do something big. You're right. Now it's just whenever I think of that big scene panning out, I think of Zoolander being the one to do the deed. It's just Zoolander being fucking racist.
So, it depends on how you look at it, but again, this could be seen. Basically, the sequence could be perceived as the end of Act 1, where our guys are captured. And depending on how much of a stickler you are.
I think this is a very logical end to Act 1. Act 1 is very fucking long.
I love the deep. I'm just saying it depends how you break.
Yeah, the logical low of lows. The logical end of Act 2 is when Basie abandons him.
Yeah. I guess it depends how you look at things too. Because of course, like when you break down like a long movie, it depends where you exactly.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is more complicated than I thought it would be to break down the 3-act structure in this one.
Here we go, the big eye reveal for Basie. Here's the thing I call in a rewatch that really made me love Malkovich even more in this movie, is that he has this great. He gives him sunglasses.
Yeah, you're right. Spielberg did really draw that out. That's actually impressive how much he draws that out.
Yeah. Think about this. I love the bit where he gives him the glasses, and he knows he's about to get a beating, so he gives him the glasses so they don't get broken. So I want those back. Then he takes the beating. I didn't catch that until the rewatch. Oh my God, I took the beating. Wow.
Well, it's the same philosophy as the whole like what comes later with you're in charge of my stuff.
Mm-hmm. I just love the fact that he's smart. I love how smart a character Basie is.
All right, is this another example of a flight of fancy that's a little weird and goes on a little overindulgently?
Little bit. I mean, basically, the significance of it is, and we kind of do it later on a little better, but the idea is that there's a sense of community within the internment. And the idea is like a processing center. And I kind of caught this on the rewatch that ultimately what's going to happen through this sequence, through basically while we're in this location, is that James kind of discovers that they're weeding out the weak in this place. And I kind of forgot, like, oh my God, they're waiting for the sick to die off in this place, which is kind of a creepy idea. But yeah, it's the thing. It's basically they're in kind of a processing center, kind of waiting to basically they can only house so many people, and they're going to get rid of them later on. Of course, hopefully the sick will die off, and they'll send the people they want to get rid of while they're kind of bringing new people into the place. I guess
that's really twisted.
So this, okay, so here I want to talk about. So the sweet potato is like the food of choice for the prisoners of war, and there's a reason for that. So it's rice, and it's rice and a sweet potato. And J.G. Ballard, he can't eat them today. He can't barely even look at them because he just can't stomach anymore because that's all they gave him to eat during the war.
Mm-hmm.
I presume it's because it's the easiest and cheapest food to make at the time. That's a really horrible situation in this dank place, and they're only giving you a sweet potato. Which, by the way, as we know later on, they're bug infested sweet potatoes too.
Bothers me how much I know we've never brought up this movie before, but like the movie The Martian, it bothers me how much that movie glorifies like, oh yeah, eating potatoes for 3 years is totally cool, man. Science, bro, we're gonna science the shit out of this. It's like, no, in reality that would completely fucking suck. Anyways,
Right.
I'm sorry, brief tangent I have on an incredibly overrated movie. My bad.
Right. So yeah, again, I like that. I like that Basil's not holding a grudge either. The fact that they were caught, and again, he could easily blame the kid for kind of giving them a bad tip. But again, we've a little passage of time. They've moved past it. And it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like we have the mentorship is where the mentorship really comes into play during this section coming up here, where Basie is he's teaching Jim a few tricks and basically teaching him some really valuable life lessons for internment living. Of course, the first really good lesson he gives him here, because again, if you're sick, and again, this whole place is waiting for people to die of malaria and all sorts of stuff right now. He teaches Jim like, no, you can't drink like that filthy water. You got to boil it first. And I love like the flask. I love he keeps the boiled water in like this little flask.
Yeah.
And this bit just so charming. Like, you have nice manners. I appreciate that. It's adorable. That sort of thing. These two guys, I buy them as pals so much. And again, as much as you buy them as pals, at the end of this, basically when they move from from the processing center to the internment camp, like he's willing to leave them there.
Yeah.
That's the line. That's the line. He'll be if they're in the same place, he'll be as cordial as he can. But if it comes down to him or me, it's going to be always him. I'm sorry, it's going to be always me. I guess. Of course, he's saying. Again, I love like the morbid. It's almost it feels very Hogan's Heroes-esque, by the way. And of course, a lot of this stuff and a lot of just going to the end. So I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I'm going to save the Hogan Heroes point for later on. That's more for when we actually get to the camp. Sorry.
Yeah.
I like the little survivalist touches. This is what I love about Spielberg movies. Some of my favorite Spielberg movies, even like some of my favorite stuff, like Catch Me If You Can or The Terminal.
Are you thinking that he's eating the cracker with both ketchup and mustard? I'm sorry.
Anyway, the point is, one of my favorite touches of a Spielberg movie are the survivalist, kind of like the evolution of a survivalist. I love that sort of thing with movies, like evolving methods where the idea is like when somebody dies, you grab their food pail, therefore you get more portions. And when somebody dies, this is a more morbid version of it. When somebody dies, they're for the pickings.
Sure.
Of course, I think we set up a little bit of the mosquito net of death here. Well, it's more of a literal thing later on, but right now I'm saying we have a little bit of netting around the bed, and so it's kind of a little visual connect. I mean, this stuff right here, again, it's like you have a dead man, quickly get his food pail so you can get more food, or kind of ration more food, basically trade stuff within the environment. Again, that's Basie thinking on his feet, being a very forward thinker in the midst of a crappy situation. I don't know. Tiki is going to sound so strange, but Spielberg directs death really well. How to tell you? Because look at the rigidity built into that guy's hand, and later on, like this one, this is still really haunting to me. Rewatching the movie, where right now he's like going for the shoes, and he's going to like pull her down in a second. When he pulls her down, it's like I don't know why, just like the rigidity in the which like her eyes just like plumb open, just looks really creepy.
Yeah. I mean, Spielberg has always been good with that kind of stuff. Just sort of like looming, and of course, as we get deeper into his filmography, into the 90s and stuff, it gets even more. Like in a way, this is almost kind of like a warm up for stuff like Schindler's List. Where that's where the Spielberg's depiction of death is going to really go into overdrive. But this is definitely like I said, I do think in many ways this movie was kind of a warm-up act for Schindler's List.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's kind of like the THX 1130 is kind of a
Oh
warm
yeah,
up for
for
Star
sure.
Wars.
That's a good pool. Yeah.
If THX is a warm up for Star Wars, then this is a warm up for Schindler's List.
Uh-huh. And it's interesting because I feel like this movie is almost like a weird like blend between like at least like stylistically between Schindler and Private Ryan,
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
because it's got some of the more like obviously the internment camp mirrors the concentration camp, but then like with the Private Ryan stuff, I feel like it's a bit more in so many words, it's got a more Hollywood touch to it, like Private Ryan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got the patriotic themes to it. It's got a little
Right,
bit,
right, exactly.
it
Yeah.
may be a little bit of the flair.
Uh huh.
Of course, right here is where they're kind of like weeding people out and just trying to make room at the camp and just trying basically getting people out of there. Basically, the people who are clearly like not long people are clearly like not on their last legs. So just let the people on the last legs go. Let them kind of keel over, and then we'll just ditch the bodies and we'll just let the again really morbid stuff. But yeah.
Hmm.
Look at this little mouth was just kind of spinning the thing. Because again, I just love everybody's very frank to get. He's just like, we'll see what happens. And this is the haunting bit here. This is kind of like the Gene Cousineau thing in effect right here, where again you love that character, but yeah, it's like no, you don't know if he's 100% on your side.
Right, right.
Again, it's so sad here, where just Jim's like, I love look how fast he turns on those. He's just trying to bond with the new kids here with like the magic trick right in front of Jim, and Jim's not picking up on it.
Oh God.
It's so traumatizing. I love like he's not even looking at he's trying not to look the adults in the eye here. He's not looking at Jim at all here. He's kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah. Of course, this is they get separated a couple times throughout the course of the movie, and you're right. It's it's very much like Spielberg, kind of like the false hope of father figures. Like they're like a lot of times father figures are going to disappoint you. Like like Basie, he's a very complex character. He's a very interesting character. Not necessarily a character that we put on our top 10 fictional father figures list, right?
no. Of course, but importantly, the idea with this scene is that Jim's profound fear after his parents are getting separated from him is being alone in this new status quo, in this new terrifying situation.
Mhm.
And we see, and again, this is him kind of like living, and kind of him kind of in some ways impressing Basie, but kind of living up to Basie's influence here, where you have to outthink your way out of this situation. You have to earn your way. Where I know the way, I know the way. And of course, we had that really. It feels like one of those great like lightning in a bottle Spielberg moments too, where he had the blood just dripping from his head, and it's like one of those where you have to have the camera on just right at that moment in cinematic history, where he's like over there, like the head from when he got hit by the soldiers, like bleeding.
Right. Yeah.
Down. So, by the way, with the workers in the background of the scene, they use the leaf blowers filled with talcum powder to kind of dust them up like that.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
kind of the quarry area here.
Uh-huh.
Of course, those golf shoes are going to come back in a big way.
Oh God.
I love a little bit of comedy here too. It's just slapping the soldier, and the idea is that this soldier constantly gets slapped by the other soldiers, and now even Jim's doing it. Just like, of course, like I'm watching him for his dad. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say this is the doctor from later on he's talking to right now.
Yeah. Yet another father figure in this movie.
Yes. Very intentional father as well. So I like the way kind of he was kind of passing judgment on the other father figure as well.
Sure. It's funny because we have like the actual father, we have Basie, we have the doctor.
Yep.
Just this might be like if we were to because tier lists are a big thing now, Dragon. We need to get on that trend, by the way. But
what the heck's a tier list?
If we were to do a tier list of the of Spielberg movies with the most daddy issues, I feel like this movie would be in the top tier.
Might be.
Anyways, and if you don't know what a tier list is, Dragon, it's basically like a bracket. Like like we have like different tiers, and you put like like for example, if we were to do the the Spielberg catalog as a tier list, we'd have like like the God tier, and then like on the God tier would be like Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and then like on the A tier we'd have probably stuff like Close Encounters. You get the point.
Right. Now, I don't know if I'm reading this wrong, but I like to read it as they're forcing them to build their own internment camp right now. That's going to take a while. That's why they're hanging the rocks. That's what I kind of read it as.
Right.
Again, the idea is that Pearl Harbor was the kickoff to when everyone was getting out of Dodge, when everyone was running around. That was that was when Pearl Harbor happened. And then, Jim's kind of waiting around. That's basically them just kind of starting to, kind of capture people from the internment camp. And at this point, now they're being sent to build the internment camp.
It's very like morbid, just like build your own prison scenario.
And you got to remember, like when we transition here, it's 3 years later. So yeah. Presumably, again, I don't know 100% if that's the case, but I would assume so. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get there, of course, we do have a little bit of whimsy right here. So again, the idea, basically the rule of thumb for the movie. So Act 1 is pretty much all verbatim what J.G. Ballard actually went through. Obviously, it's based on the book, which is based on Ballard's writing, his experiences being there. So Act 1 is pretty much that's pretty much all 100% as far as I can see. Again, minus like it was a tank instead of a boat. Pretty much it's all straightforward. But here onward, basically internment camp onward specifically, that's presumably I believe the analogy is it's half fact, half fiction, and the half fiction it's not saying that these things didn't happen, but it's giving like an adventure quality to it, basically like the good times, and basically kind of giving the thematic edge, like things happening as they're happening there. I mean, I don't know if Basie. I assume Basie was in the book. I haven't read the book. I assume Basie would be an actual character within the thing. Point being, just things kind of going, in quite kind of a great story narrative-wise. That's mainly the fabrication. So it's like not saying everything is half of it's not true, but half of it unfolding the way it unfolds probably is. That's the fiction.
Right. It's kind of
this bit's
between reading like an autobiography where it's like the person just giving like a beat by beat on their life and there's not a lot of narrative punch to it, versus reading like a really good biography where it's like they take the story structure of someone's life and really apply that and really get into the thematic. You get what I'm saying, the difference there.
I do. So, okay, a few things. So, one, again, the transition between, again, he falls in love with the plane, he salutes the Japanese pilots, and of course, we have this great transition to 3 years later where we have his pilot buddy right now flying the airplane. Of course, it's a misdirect because you think that's him flying the plane like he did in at the very beginning of Act 1. And right now, we transition from that kid to reveal, like, no, it's not him. Now he has this sweet kind of pilot's jacket on, presumably he got from his buddies, the pilots, or it was snuck in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. And it's and again, it's like a great misdirect. Again, he's slowly becoming that comic book character. And again, he's making a friend that's definitely going to pay off by Act 3, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time.
If you actually, on rewatch, it really came in the fray that you can measure both of their arcs from this moment forward. Every time they have an interaction, they're both going on the same track, on the same direction. If you're
really I mean, that's the thing. It's like I feel like this the kid on the other side of the fence. He's less of a character and more of a track for the passage of the character development for the Christian Bale character. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I feel like in terms of plot structure, it's very effective.
Yeah. That's the thing. So again, right now it's 1945, and the idea is like basically from this point to the end of the movie, it kind of takes us to the end of the war, or at least to the bombings more specifically. Basically, that's the war is over now. We're just kind of facilitating the change. And right now we have this. This was kind of alluding to earlier. This is where we get to the Hogan's Heroes section of the movie. There's definitely a Hogan's Heroes vibe to this. The idea is like, we have that shows all that prisoners of war by the Nazis, though. That's the difference. But it's
right.
Kind of the idea. The idea is like that shows a comedy, and we're kind of like, I'm not saying this is a comedy right now. It's like it's a little light. This is a lighthearted whimsy.
It might
kind of
be the lightest section of the movie.
That's what I'm saying. Like the news, we're seeing some. So the idea is like after the place has been built, and now they're just it's kind of like the new status quo is kind of Jim has taken to the new status quo. He's a little bit more kind of a smart Basie like character. He's going to figure out the lay of the land, but he also has a responsible father figure. He's got things are going well, and he's become invaluable. He's not the helpless kid from Act One. Now he's quite invaluable to the lives of the other characters. He's kind of the runner.
Sure, sure.
He's the runner, the tradesman. This bit here, and again, the big thing with Jim is that Jim had this really weird line on the first watch. It kind of makes a lot more sense in the second watch, where he's because obviously J.G. Ballard's a writer, and the idea is that he's writing a book on bridges. And I could be reading into it, bear in mind, but I kind of read it as, well, he's the bridge between the Japanese and the Americans.
Yeah.
Because this guy right here, and I love this too on a rewatch. So one, of course, this guy, basically he's the general of the place, the guy running the prisoner of war camp. Of course, he builds a bond with this guy, and it's definitely going to pay off through the movie. And if you'll notice, he stole it.
If the movie was made today, Daniel Day Kim would totally be playing this guy.
Maybe. You'll notice too. I love the bit that he stole his soap, and of course, stealing his soap is going to be is going to have a big payoff for Basie. Let's say. Of course, a little bit of childhood there, and playing some marbles. Well, again, the point is like he's keeping himself awfully busy these days. And he's even taken to Dr. Roland. Oh, sorry, Dr. Dr. Roland.
Yeah.
So he's basically Dr. Rollins has become his other father figure here, and he's kind of channeling his kind of need to do something, kind of take his mind off the horribleness of the situation, to kind of helping him out, and just kind of teaching him, educating him, kind of keeping up his schoolwork amidst the. And of course, this has a very tragic.
Helping dying women, try and recuperate, and even though they're clearly dead, that's definitely just a way to relax the tension, Dragon. Just something you do after a long day of work.
Tiki, for many years, I've used the American. Well, for us, for a couple of years, I've used the American Dad analogy of the one of the most tragic things you could think. I remember I used that tearjerker moment. Remember from the American Dad episode, the parody Bond. Like tearjerker was making a movie so sad that people are going to cry themselves to death for hours. And like my sequel is going to be a baby gorilla trying to revive its dead mother for 4 hours.
Oh, God.
And I got to tell you, Tiki, I mean, I've used that comparison, but never have I seen it literally in practice like this.
Right.
Just trying to revive someone dead, and later on to very tragic effect. So that's what we're foreshadowing here. Him thinking he can bring somebody back when actually just moving blood into the brain, which kind of triggers like a wink react. It's like a baby doll action with the eyes open when you touch it.
Right.
They also set up here a mosquito netting is kind of a symbol of it's a bad omen. The mosquito nets are bad omens of like you're probably on your last legs or going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the practical medical thing is like it's trying to prevent bugs from infecting you, like getting malaria from mosquitoes. I want to say that's the direct kind of reason for the thing.
I feel like there's an interesting contrast between the Doctor and James, where the Doctor is like obviously more of a realist, and James is kind of like still stuck in that like we already discussed. Like he's a kid brought up in this environment, so he's not necessarily against the Japanese. You know what I mean? Which is a fascinating thing that it's kind of ballsy for Spielberg to explore. And the Doctor is, of course, a very pragmatic man who's very much knows the ins and outs and the complications of the situation. And they bounce off of each other nicely. Yeah.
And also, again, we kind of talk about the Patty Hearst effect going on here with basically with the point that you just brought up here, where again it's sort of he's befriended the Japanese, and again he's not sure what's going to follow in the status quo. He hasn't had that eye-opening lesson from Basie quite yet, so he's not really thinking about it as he will be later on. But right now it's sort of like the Doctor's posing the really smart questions. You're like, "What? You don't want them to win, do you? Remember, we're British, okay? Remember, we have a side in this, right?" But again, what he said right here is just, I've never been there. Again, he never grew up in Britain. He grew up in basically a place that's like it,
Right.
Yeah. Of course, I'm just trying to kind of, again, basically, we're kind of trying to grow his vocabulary here. Yeah, bear in mind, he's already quite verbose, and he's just kind of, he's got, he's definitely kind of a cultured, comes from a cultured family. It's kind of again, basically, I would say, again, if Baisie's kind of I would argue, I think Jim's a little like, he does take a liking to the Doctor, and he's learning from him. Basically, I think the Doctor as a father figure is kind of a reminder of what his status quo was with his family, and he was kind of coming from the British family. But again, like the exciting family, the exciting world he wants to go into is the American side of things, the American bunkers. With Basie,
Yeah,
that's
that's a good way to look at it. That's a good way. It's like, yeah, for sure. The Doctor is the harsh realities of war, and Basie is like the comic book version of war.
He's the romanticized war.
Yeah.
Of course, here we're about to get into the American bunkers here. Again, this is where I was really picking up on, like, oh yeah, so Hogan's Heroes right now. They're playing ball inside. Again, it's really bad situation. But you know what? We're just looking for some civility here. Okay, now we have Ben Stiller coming up here. All right, so Ben Stiller is
fucking Ben Stiller.
So Ben Stiller, a few things. One, a little fun fact that might blow your mind. I'm assuming this is true, and I heard this was true, and I'd like to think it is. And of course, I'm sorry, real quick. This again, Frank having it out for the kid because he's just very threatened by him because again, the kid is now invaluable, which makes Frank feel very useless, very threatened by a kid. So here's Ben Stiller, right here with the Hershey bar line.
Oh my god, dude!
God. So Ben Stiller.
I'm sorry. Like I take Adam. I literally take Adam Sandler more seriously as a dramatic actor than I take Ben Stiller. Like Ben Stiller, the dude just has such a goofball face.
Well, Ben Stiller can do dramatic fine. It's just this movie, obviously. I mean, he's not even playing a dramatic figure in this movie. He's just really, he makes the Hershey bar joke. It's all he does. I can't really call it dramatic.
Out of curiosity, what's the best dramatic Ben Stiller performance that you can think of?
Look, I know. Here's the thing. I don't want to just say it out left because I can't remember if it still holds up. I mean, I heard that. I don't know how it was in the Walter Mitty thing.
Ooh, that's the best you can do. Ooh.
I'm.
Ooh, PU.
Look, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here because I mean, there's. I know I've seen him do some dramatic stuff.
Oh, I would say probably the work he's done with Wes Anderson, like the Royal Tenenbaums.
There you go.
But I mean, even then, he's like a very supporting. I'm just saying, man. Like at least with Adam Sandler, he's had a few really good movies to prove his dramatic chops.
I just think going out of your way to slight Ben Stiller. I gotta be honest, I think you're just going out of your way.
Maybe I am.
Anyway, well, fun thing with Ben Stiller though is that so again, reportedly, he got the inspiration for Tropic Thunder from working on this movie.
I could see that.
Love to think that.
I mean, I will say this: I do admire Ben Stiller as a director. Maybe Zoolander too. Not, it's like I don't necessarily think he's had the best run recently, but I do love Zoolander and Tropic Thunder as original comedies.
Yeah,
like Zoolander especially is one of my that's again, if we're doing a tier list of 2000s comedies, that's on the god tier for sure. Anyways, enough about Ben Stiller. What's actually going on?
So again, right here we have we're getting kind of seeing a new status quo between him and Basie. Where the idea is again he's bringing him stuff, and the idea what we're going to see later on is that he actually brings him all the supplies he needs to plot his escape, and that's kind of the main reason that he's there. So again, he's indulging the kid, but by the same time he needs the supplies from the kid. That's the main reason he's around. And he's talking about his perceived escape. Mm-hmm. And he said, he's going to take somebody with him. And the Ben Stiller character is the other contender right now. So that's the guy he's talking about. So Ben Stiller's character is the guy who essentially gets him out at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And he needs to take somebody with him. Who's going to be him or James. And he eventually he opts for the Ben Stiller character. But it's the fact that he promises him that he'll take me. Like, why should I take you? Because I'm your friend. And of course, he doesn't quite give him an answer after that point. Because then we have the interruption here with the potatoes. Now this to me is probably this and the this is the Nagasaki bit with like these scenes I saw right here when basically they're all scrounging for the muddy potatoes.
Oh yeah.
Which is, again, it's just that it's an ugly scene. I gotta be honest. It looks quite disgusting. Bloody potatoes. Right again, right here. The guy just kicks him over with the rice and the potatoes, and oh god, right in the mud. Yeah, gross. Again, James is getting in there, getting those potatoes, and they're going to again that quite a valuable commodity. I guess it's just kind of like, especially when they're just kind of kicked over like that. Just grab as many as you can.
Yeah.
Here we have Miss Victor, I believe, and she's gonna be important again. She kind of yeah, she's kind of like the closest thing he has to like kind of a little vague, like emphasis on vaguely, kind of vaguely a mother figure, someone just kind of looking out for him, just kind of a maternal, somewhat of a maternal figure. The idea he's being looked out for in kind of the English bunker here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's the Norman Rockwell magazine thing right there. Presumably he got from that Life magazine he kind of swapped from earlier. And again, that is kind of the symbol of his parents. That again is the symbol of the kind of the childhood innocence right there. Just again what he's lost and what he kind of hopes is still around for him. It's going to sound kind of petty, but I mean everyone's teeth are so bad in this. I mean, because again, obviously there's a reason for that. But I'm just saying, if you really look at Ben Stiller, everybody they all have these cruddy teeth.
Man.
And here we
Go ahead.
and here we have the weevils within the potatoes, and I got at first on the first watch I completely lost the weevils line for a moment. I thought they were like for some like raisins or something, or like rice from the gathering, but from like just the combination of all the rice and the potatoes. But no,
they're like ants, right? It's like if you look at it in a certain way, they're like a spice. They've got like a little kick to them.
well, that's the thing. I mean, they're like that's the thing. Like weevils, they're I guess kind of like a burrowing ant, if you will. Or kind of the point being, they're he was told by the doctor you should eat the weevils because it gives you a sense of protein.
Protein, yes. But fun fact, Dragon, I'm actually rewatching some old school Survivor, and they talk about eating bugs for protein, something that they would never do on new school Survivor since it's all strategy all the time. Anyways.
And of course, I mean, this is the thing. Jim is getting away from this now, but in his youth, especially when he was dealing with that Frank character, the guy just talked his ear off and just bugged him to odd infinite. I got to tell you, they did borderline a little bit annoying there. So the kid's just not picking up on social cues. But importantly, now he's a lot more wizened. Again, so 3 years have gone by. Like he's now gone from like he's about 15 at this point in the movie. And again, it's quite impressive when you think about how we aged up Christian Bale before our eyes here. And of course, he kind of ages in 3 stages. We have him as the kid, the 12-year-old kid. We have him here, and by the end, we have him as like kind of the haggard version of the 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Sure. He's kind of aged like Miles. He has like city miles put on by the third act. But again, like it's really fascinating. Again, it's like the littlest things, Tiki, when you think about it. Like again, they gave him a new hairstyle. Like they cut the hair in a certain way. They gave him like a very subtle wig. They paint the crud on his teeth. They give him the dust and everything. But again, it ages him 3 years seamlessly before your eyes. It's also the performance. He acts very wizened. He acts very kind of he's been put through the ringer and it reads.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if anything else, this movie, the strength of the movie kind of like really does rest on Bale's shoulders. And as a freaking kid when this movie was shot, I mean, it's just like, it's a big risk, man.
Yeah, this was the big thing he was really known for before, like American Psycho, and of course, ultimately, Batman. And of course, now Vice.
You know what my first exposure to Christian Bale was?
Newsies.
No, not Newsies, but you're in the ballpark.
What?
Pocahontas.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. yeah, you're right. Oh god, yeah. No, I didn't even have that. I had American Psycho before.
Oh really? Oh god.
Well, okay. Well, let me be fair. I mean, okay.
Oh, my 20s.
All right. Okay. Maybe I should rephrase. It's not that I hadn't seen Pocahontas. That I put 2 and 2 together.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, this is another scene where I'm talking about. This is like a scene we really don't need. Where I mean, I get where they're going with it. Again, he's going through a change, but considering it's not going to really have any bearing on the rest of the movie, it just feels uncomfortable to me. Just like he's going through essentially he's going through puberty right now, and watching the victors get frisky.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's just kind of a weird scene. I mean, it's
I
not
don't know.
coming out. Sorry, not coming completely out of left field, but it's still out of left field.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. A little out of left field, but not entirely, I guess.
Well, it's not that it's out of left field. Like I feel like these sorts of sequences just stylistically they're just kind of like placed in there, and they do sort of just drag when they happen.
Yep. And of course, things begin to lighten up right now, where we have the bombings going on here. They're bombing the Shanghai docks.
Yeah, because that's what you need to lighten the mood, Dragon. Just an old-fashioned bombing, that's what we all do on a Saturday night.
But in all seriousness, I love the proximity. I love the man on the ground proximity to the action here. Like when a bomb goes off, there's a lot of impact and debris and everything flying.
Sure.
The idea is that the Japanese are really ticked off, and they're going to take it out on the British who are bombing them. Which is why this is kind of a retribution sort of thing. That is like, war can bring out a lot of pettiness. I guess it's the general idea. And again, I love that he's using kind of a tactic from the one father figure to save the other father figure here, where basically what's about to happen is, Dr. Rollins here is about to get the crap beat out of him, man. Jim is going to save him by essentially kind of being smart when it comes to the situation here. Again, basically being a student of human behavior, as he kind of said earlier, the University of Life. He's kind of a student of a student of the University of Life versus what the doctor's teaching with book smarts.
Right.
He's learning kind of the street smarts
versus street smart scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, here where he's just very smart here, where he basically shows respect to the Japanese, which of course this whole thing's out of vanity right now, where it's like he's destroying these things because they're pissed off about the bombings, and he's just basically going to destroy things. He's just going to bow to them again. Of course, in Japanese culture, the degree of bow communication.
Watching this movie, I thought the doctor was going to get killed in this sequence. Like the wrapper him with the stick pretty damn hard.
Yeah. Of course, in the Japanese culture, the bow how far you bow signifies a lot, and of course, going completely to the ground that's kind of the ultimate show of respect right now. All the way down like that. What is the doctor's stupefied look right now? It's just like, oh my god, it's working. And I love this too, where again, like he's kind of saving face, but I love just how this guy, the I guess the general, like the overseer of the prisoner war camp, he just doesn't know what to make of this kid, but he's kind of likes him though. He kind of he's showing me respect, and it was like, he's buttoning up his shirt. Like, I have the power.
Yeah.
My lesson's done. We're all good here. Let's blow this pop stand. That sort of thing. Also, he's fluent in Japanese, which kind of gets him far. I'd like to think that his little friend taught him Japanese. That's what I'd like to think. But he could have just learned it from someone else.
That's a nice headcanon.
Yeah.
The question is, how much interaction does he actually have with that friend? Because the way I viewed it...
Well, I mean, I imagine it's before someone calls him over.
Like he would see the kid when he was on that side of the fence. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. I guess you just...
It's more like an unspoken bond.
Yeah.
I always kind of assumed he got it from the doctor. I don't know why I assumed the doctor taught him, but I don't know.
It's probably not the doctor. It's probably just he heard it from the Japanese guys around the camp. And of course, here's the kind of the respect from the doctor here, where he gives him the golf shoes from the most likely deceased patient.
Yeah.
This is British food. Leave it alone. I gotta admit, basically this bits in here show the food scarce, but I mean, I don't get why the guards would be shooting at. I mean, I assume I don't know. I don't. I guess they're not Japanese. They could be. I don't know if these guys are supposed to be Chinese thieves that are just that have kind of broken out of their own camp
Yeah,
or what.
you know what? I feel like you're kind of hitting right now on an issue that this movie has that I was kind of struggling to put into words, Dragon, and that's that sometimes with being historically accurate or like the putting these events in there, I feel like the movie doesn't necessarily spell out exactly what's going on as much as maybe it should. Do you understand what I'm getting there? It's like I feel like maybe there's a little bit too much show don't tell. Do you
Yes,
understand what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. There are a few again. I go directly to the power
It's like
scene where again
sometimes a
there's
little exposition goes a long way.
yeah. Of course, here I love the setup at the end of the last scene going into this scene here, where the idea is that they want to catch a pheasant, they want to catch kind of a more hearty meal, they want something, and they need to set a trap for it, which is kind of Jim's task here. Basically, Jim's initiation into the American bunker
Yeah.
is to kind of set the traps to get some pheasants, which of course he has to crawl into the barbed wire for, which is very risky. And of course, there's the guard there, and we saw what happened to presumably, possibly even their own men earlier on. I mean, again, we have no idea what went on in that scene. Fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, I love that. We also have the landmine question, where again, I love the psychological kind of war games of it all here. We think about it, where when those guys were fleeing, again, we had to see those guys run away for a story reason that kind of question the landmine thing, where it's like, I bet there aren't even landmines there. Because it's like, did he lob a grenade or did the guy walk in a landmine? If he walked in a landmine, then they're stuck in there. But if not, it's like it's psychological warfare where like we make them think that they can't go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is kind of trippy. There's a messy, muddy sequence here. One could say Tiki. One could say he's with the Japanese. One could say he's
Wait, what?
muddying the water. One could say he's muddying the water.
I'm sorry. Yes, he is muddying the waters. Yes.
With the one time we can actually say that and have it make sense.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. I mean, yeah, I do kind of wonder how long it took to shoot stuff like this, and the conditions of the shooting.
Well, I know they would practically apply like when he buries his face in the mud. That's like there's a
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure that's practically applied makeup. But what I'm saying is, like, I wonder how long he had to stay in that makeup and, the conditions, like how hot it was, just those kind of practicalities. It's because it is really, it's an impressive makeup job. It is.
Yeah. I mean, more impressive is later on, like it dries up and it's just stuck on his face. You gotta remember, these guys probably can't bathe as often as they'd like. I'd imagine. I imagine this whole movie. I imagine in the universe of this movie, everyone smells terrible.
It's like Survivor Dragon.
Yeah, but they smell terrible in real life too. Anyway.
Right.
Of course, this is a great payoff to the friendship. Again, we're paralleling the journeys of Jim and his friend there from across the barricade, where again his friend's about to bail him out here during this really tense sequence. Like, oh guys, Jim and we found out. And again, I love this thing with Basie, where again with Basie and company, are they running to his defense? Are they going to help him out? Of course not. Basie, they're running odds on it. They're giving odds on it. And again, Basie has faith in him, but still, everybody again, he has faith in him.
This feels like a very classic Spielberg situation that we've seen before. Basically, someone taking bets on a person's survival odds.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I know I'm thinking of it from is not a Spielberg movie, but something of that kind of era, which is Shawshank Redemption has that, whole betting on how long that the new recruits would make it through.
Of course.
How much you want to bet on it, Basie? I bet my life.
Yep. Yep. Go for your lungs on that. Never mind. It's a dumb reference. Never mind. I was going to say go for your lungs on the 4-horse, but I would have no application to this betting.
Yeah.
Right now, he's about to be his bacon. The only hope that our young hero has is his young friend calling out for like, no, I dropped my plane. Plane over there. It was me. Oh,
Yeah.
and saving his bacon here. Where again, it's kind of the initiation of one, and of course later on we're going to see the other's initiation. Things. It literally steps over him. If he looked down, it would have been a gone.
Okay, I want to bring that up because it's not that it's a plot hole, but I find it a little bit like comedically timed that he literally steps over him.
Yeah.
I don't know. How believable do you think that is? Does that bother you at all?
Well, I mean, look, I'd give this a pass more than I give some other stuff a pass. Like the fact that again, it's the same movie where again the kid saying "I surrender" to God knows how many people no one takes him in, so I give it a pass compared to that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and again, it's like the civility in times of war. I mean, again, I think one of the all-time great stories in regards to the war. Of course,
that shot of Bale doing the salute with the mud on his face. Yeah. That's definitely where you can see like older Christian Bale starting to shine through.
Yep. I'm saying, like, civility in times of war is a great story. Of course, one of the great stories wasn't even during World War II. You have, like the Christmas truce, the Christmas ceasefire, World War One.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, and now he's using the Hershey bar line. Of course, this is him just kind of reveling in the American humor, the American life.
Man, it's like Ben Stiller doesn't contribute much to this movie, but god damn it, he contributes that.
Yeah, of course, he has a line that has a payoff too. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just kind of noticed that the first guy kind of smiles at him on the way and looks kind of like a creepy Nestor Carbonell.
Oh God!
Kind of a war-torn Nestor Carbonell. But,
no! Oh no!
Anyway, I know it's not him because I'd be stupefied if that was him. I know. It possibly be. It'll look at most.
His name pop up in the credits.
Never gonna happen.
Saluting soldier number 2.
Yeah. So of course now a big symbol in the movie is the suitcase, and of course with the coffin, of course full circle with the coffin image at the start of the movie. The point being, the symbol of childhood of again clinging to hope, clinging to the kind of the innocence of childhood, all the possessions that you can kind of revel in, just kind of in the midst of this bad situation you can go to, are kept within this suitcase. The suitcase is a very important symbol, and all the things kept within it, as like the Norman Rockwell poster he puts up, the silver plane, all that sort of stuff's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I love the layout of this place too. I love how it's just like Basie's room is right behind him. He's kind of like little sliding doors. That's really nice. Like his mentor father figures on the opposite side of the wall. How much more secure can you get? And this is hilarious. How you doing, Frank? He does the American accent just to screw with him. Tiki, one could say he's been rolling around in the dirt.
Yes. Oh God. Man, we're just going through those Saul references.
Rolling around in the dirt with me, Chuck.
All right. That doesn't even work, man, because he's been rolling around in the mud, not dirt.
Anyway. Way to take out the whimsy. I know it's a whole movie about taking out the whimsy, but still.
Well, I mean, it's not Schindler's List. I mean, there is some whimsy to be had in this movie.
Okay, so right now, again, as our one character is welcome, the other character is welcomed by his ranks.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying, Dragon. Like the aviator kid, he's not a full-fledged character, but that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's like he is very much there to mark the passage of Jim's arc, and I feel like he's an effective plot device.
Well, to make a Schindler's
plot device in a derogatory term at all.
To make a Schindler's List comparison, I mean, the little girl in red. I mean, she has a huge pivotal role in that movie, but it's very fleeting.
Right.
Of course, here's where he revealed to Jim that all the stuff that he's brought Basie has been used for the escape here that the Ben Stiller character is plotting.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you'll notice, again, basically the lather that they're using right now comes from that soap. And, of course, that's going to be Basie's undoing right now.
Oh, yeah.
I love the idea that now Jim has a little bit of clout here at the Japanese, so he's their go-to for like and so, like and another bit of base he's undoing right now is that he's giving him the advice of things aren't looking good. Bow, do the bow. It worked earlier. Do the bow. And I'm sorry, real quick. I love when he kicks the chessboard over because I love he's like wiping down the chess table. It's like kicks it over. No chess, right? Like, Murray's like he's like moves the pawn or like moves the chess piece. Like oh yeah, just playing it casually. That's Malkovich kind of magic right there. Just, just playing some chess. And right here, it's just he's kind of he smells the soap, which he kind of recognizes, and of course he just thinks that his stuff's been stolen here. You've been using Japanese soap, and we don't give you that guys that stuff. Really tense scene here. Just like things are not going to go well for Basie. Let's look at Jim here. Just giving him the cues. And I also know
him, man, from everything you've said about Daniel Day Kim on The Good Doctor, he can play intimidating really good.
That is true, man. Daniel Day Kim, he's been playing a lot of bad guys of late. Well, maybe not bad guys. It's like just jerks. Playing a lot of jerks lately. They've been like in Hellboy and then The Good Doctor.
Which again, weird to think about from my perspective because I'm so used to him as like the lovable husband, the loving husband who would never give up on his wife on Lost.
Oh, but trust me, everybody hates him on The Good Doctor, and he produces The Good Doctor.
Oh man,
I know. I mean, in the show they hate him. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Dre, I'm going to step away for just a minute to grab a second coffee because this one's a long sit. So I'll be right back.
Sure. So the thing that really struck me too about this scene is that he kind of throws Jim aside here after Jim kind of goes for the bow and he goes for the he basically tries pulling the bow trick himself. And what I noticed about this is that I think he's a little hurt by it because again this kid. Again, he kind of put a little trust in this kid, and again, like he's kind of putting two together. That this kid stole my soap. He's been stealing from me. He's been two-timing me. I think he feels a little betrayed by that. I think that's why he kind of throws him out there. I'll read on it. Of course, right now Jim is looking across yonder, and he's seeing. I don't mean just to give you a play-by-play here, folks, but essentially what's happening is Basie is in bad shape right now, and he sees the mosquito netting, which of course is a symbol of the movie. That again. Bad omen. Things aren't looking well. He's been instructed to watch his stuff here, but it's things are not going well.
All right, I'm back.
So again, if Basie's at kind of his lowest point right now in the movie, where Basie, he's like, mosquito netting is not a good sign, and who knows what's going to happen again. He's been beaten probably to near death. And right now they're really forging their friendship. And again, this is where we get the really important Basie conversation. Here's where Basie's giving him the big talk about, figuring out war is the easy part. It's the before and after. That's the difficult part, but what you do afterwards. And Jim is trying to come up with a solution here. Like, why don't you just come with me, with my family? 3 meals a day. We'll take care of you. We have a pool, that sort of stuff. Where again, Jim, even in offering that, I think Basie realizes this kid's still not thinking of. This kid's still not thinking of the after us. You're not going to be able to go back to Shanghai.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, I mean, the point is, I would be like, I don't know for certain what happened with Ballard. I'd be shocked if he went back to Shanghai after all of that. I'd be shocked, but I guess it's possible if the war is over. It's just really going to be really strange after everything happened to him.
I mean, he appreciates the gesture, but at the same point, he realizes kind of like the difference, like the ideological differences that the two of them have.
Yeah. Or again, Jim has somebody to come back to where Basie's kind of a nomad to an extent. Mm-hmm. I mean, Basie, again, he has like his own like kind of plan, like starting a barber college, which it's like it's an ambitious goal. It's fine. Again, a really nice. Again, like there are some genuine feelings of friendship here. Where again, like he really does like the kid, but again, not to the point where he's gonna stick his neck out for the kid. Of course, I love where he kind of puts 2 and 2 together here, and I love that Jim was probably earlier going to tell him this, but I think I kind of got sidetracked with the conversation. With the fact that his stuff's probably gotten stolen because they're bigger than him.
Right.
I also love that we're setting up Basie's return right now, because this, in essence, is the last scene that he shares with Basie. I mean, yeah, pretty much this and when he goes back to the room. But yeah. Well, I'm sorry, the last scene before they reunite, and that's what I'm talking about. We're facilitating their reunion here. So we're setting up that he knows some capable people, but he has to get out to get to those capable people, and again, reaffirming that he wants to go with them.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like in the moment with the dialogue right now.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if I'm gonna make a crazy connect here. Perhaps the shave is indicative of the barber college.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's too much of a stretch.
Even a haircut today. Possible. You think he should have been beaten up more?
Probably should have like maybe had a black eye or something,
I just mean if he's got the mosquito netting, I mean he's up and about. I mean, quite. I don't realize he's limping quite a great deal. I mean, I don't know. Really seem near death, but bear in mind they don't really have
there's some bruising on his face, I guess.
I mean, look, I'm not saying that I can't buy it. All I'm saying is, I mean, I guess it makes sense given the fact that it's not really medically they're probably not equipped to really deal with much. So again, I can't really say like you should have been beaten up more. But
right.
I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Just a little. I mean, they did beat him up a lot. He was spitting blood. So. Of course, I like that he kept the important stuff, at least what was important to him, underneath the floorboards, which again shows he's really good. He's really forward thinking with the hiding spots. But also the thing that he unearths is like kind of a big kind of totem for he and Jim's friendship. Not the silver dollar, but in this case the big lesson that he expounded at the gym. The reason like the two of them haven't quite gotten sick, like a lot of other people have, the boiled water.
Mm-hmm.
And from the looks of things, he's kind of starting from scratch in terms of the things he has left. And of course, after this moment, presumably, I don't know if it's purely because of what happened with Basie here or what, but Jim is, I believe, Jim goes back to the. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember here how it goes down. I just remember if he goes to the British side or not.
Yeah, I forget exactly how it goes down too. I'm sorry if I'm not saying much. I probably should have tried to work in a rewatch a little harder, but
well, regardless, he's sleeping outside, so perhaps again he's either feeling guilty or he's just been kind of like lost. Again, he didn't do what Basie said. Again, I got it there a little bit show before tell on that one. Again, I think you might be right. You might be hurting him. I don't know why he's sleeping outside. Basically, I know story-wise he's sleeping outside because we need him to bear witness to this moment here. So these are the kamikaze pilots, and there's a little kamikaze ritual they do where they're basically they're having a drink before the meal a drink before the flight. Having a drink before the flight, it's kind of like a little signifier of like tradition and such. And of course, Jim again. This is a really great moment of intersect here. Again, Jim again acts as a bridge between things here because he sees his friend about to kind of take the kamikaze a ritual himself, and he's singing, kind of doing his choir practice essentially, and doing so is again it's kind of charming the Japanese, and again kind of a bridge between the two worlds where the prisoners of war they're also kind of hearing the beauty of the voice and everything, and the salute and the singing.
I don't know why, Dragon, but every time Bale salutes in this movie, he looks like an older Bale.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Maybe because he's doing something that's mature. I don't know.
Maybe. And this kind of a nice gesture. He's kind of wishing his friend well. I mean, whether he kind of fully grasps the whole kamikaze of it all, I can't quite speak he's just showing some support. Hey, he's even winning over this guy. And I was saying when you stepped away, Tiki, is that I think this guy was a little hurt by him stealing the soap, and I think now he's just kind of I think he's going to come around a little bit on him with that bit. I wonder where he got those nice sunglasses in that camp.
So yeah, I feel like this is kind of a nice centerpiece scene of the movie, at least on a thematic level, and I feel like what it's trying to say essentially is that Jim is sort of the I'm sorry, Dragon, you already hit on this point a little bit here, but just to reiterate, he's kind of the the bridge that's kind of gapping all these different cultures together. And because he's, this upper class white British kid who was in the middle of this horrific war situation, it does make him kind of like the perfect contrast for all these different cultures and sides and factions in the movie.
Yep. Oh, so I remember. I now remember when when he goes back to the British cabin. It's not yet. I know. I remember when now. It's after the Mustang sequence. And of course, now he's very much guised as kind of like an American war character with the dog tags and everything, just kind of dressed like an American soldier. And again, here's where we get a lot of these sun shots here, kind of embracing Empire of the Sun before. How do you interpret the Sun title? Because I interpret the Sun title like the direct meaning of Empire of the Sun is the Nagasaki bombing. That's the sun specifically, and everything else is just like you kind of building to that. It's an empire. It's a doomed empire. So
is the fact that like Japan is the land of the rising sun.
Oh, that's good. I didn't think about that. Awesome.
And so it's literally relating to the Japanese Empire.
Yeah, okay, yours is better. I'll consider yours is better. It's a temporary empire that gets ended by not.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yours is better. All right. Okay, so this sequence here, this is a tricky one. So the way they did this is quite remarkable. We would never do this today, but this is great. So Spielberg, he had like kind of the they're more miniaturized. So again, basically, like there are planes built for this, radio-controlled planes that are flying through these shots. Not a fake plane in sight.
Oh, wow.
Every time a plane's flying by, like in front of Christian Bale right now, real plane, and those planes are essentially, they're scaled down. They have motorcycle engines in them,
man,
and they are radio-controlled, which is really tricky because basically the way they pilot, you have to pilot from the ground, like with basically as you would like a radio, like a remote-control car.
Right, yeah.
So, bear in mind, I'm sure like shots where shots when they have the pilots inside, though, that's something a little bit more manufacturing, and they're editing away from that, if you notice. So that's the thing. But again, anytime you have like from a distance, and they're from the sky, from the distance when they're like really close to the ground, those are real planes. And just really well choreographed kind of action beats and kind of special effects at the ready here. So this is the part where Basie's been injured, and he sees kind of his mentor kind of at a low of lows, and now he's just seeing the planes. Like he's over the moon happy, seeing the Cadillac of the sky, literally the silver plane, in action, and he's going nuts for it. And I think the idea is the one totem that he has of the time before, again, a symbol of war. He's clinging to anything he has left of his parents, which basically is what the doctor's going to shake him out of reality to realize. But right now, like that's why he's going out of his gourd like happy, jumping up and down over all this.
Right.
And that's why he's just like a maniac. He's standing on top of the building, pretty much saying, like, "Fire at me! Fire at me!"
Pretty much, yeah.
But again, he's just doing it because it's the only symbol he has left of his parents, of life before the war. That's the thing. Basically, this Christian Bale, wonderful acting in Christian Bale's part. He was just acting out of his gourd. He was acting, he's losing his sanity.
I touched them. I felt their heat. I could taste their ash in my mouth.
Right. Also, this is Spielberg thinking on his feet, directing-wise, because basically
the runway. In a way, it's our runway.
Mm-hmm. Basically, Spielberg, Spielberg was thinking on his feet when he directed this, because the idea is like when he's in front of those pyrotechnics and everything going off, obviously you don't want to reset that up. So basically, halfway through, they had to change the direction on Bale. So basically, he had to think on his feet and quickly arrange things before all the rest of the pyrotechnics went off, and kind of ended up being seamless. And this is the line. This is what I'm talking about here. Look at the range he has here. He's just going out of his mind, happy to. I forgot what my parents look like.
Exactly. It's such a big 180, but it works so well.
And again, it just plays again. He's losing his mind at this place.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of the things I really do respect about this movie is that it does not shy away from like the the losing your shit factor that war instills in you. You know what I mean? It's like this is some deep level mental stuff here.
This kid hasn't seen his parents in 3 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Of course, here the doctor again kind of coming in for the save, and this brings him back to the British bunker here, where he needs a little bit more of kind of a softer touch of things, and again, kind of that maternal, kind of needs a little bit of the maternal touch.
Right.
And I believe I can't say he's saying gibberish. All I know is the subtitles don't come up during this part, but he basically he's just kind of going on like he was when he was in the fever dream.
I want to bring that up, Dragon. There's no Japanese subtitles at all in this movie, which I think was a nice choice.
Yeah,
because to me that kind of illustrates where it's like we might not know exactly what he's saying, but we get it. We get the what his actions are signifying. You know what I mean? We can kind of put the pieces together.
Yeah.
Right.
Right now here he gets kind of a warm welcome here when he needs it, so this is kind of nice. A little bit of civility from the vicars here. Victors here, sorry, not vicars. That's an English like religious thing. The vicar. Of course, here's got these.
I do think the movie is about to enter another lull.
Yeah, but what we do have here, I'm just to point it out here again, he's starting to get some city miles on here with the dark circles under the eyes, and they're going to get worse as things kind of get worse for him. Basically, he's going to be completely at the when they do the long walk. That's when he's fully going to have the city miles on him, but they're slowly starting to pop up.
And that's what I'm saying though, is that the long walk is probably the next really good set piece in the movie. And I don't know, it's like as a set piece movie, the stuff in between the set pieces maybe not the most compelling.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying in terms of pacing, it's just kind of like we're sort of dragging our feet a little bit.
Yep. Again, I'll firmly stand by it. I know we're kind of dancing around a little bit. This movie did not need to be 2.5 hours.
Oh, I don't think we're dancing around it at all. I think it really didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it needed to be much shorter than 2.5 hours. I think it could afford to be longer than 2 hours, but I mean, like 2:15, 2:20 with credits. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. That would have been the sweet spot. It's like you don't need to shave off much, but the points where it drags, it really does drag.
Yeah, because you got to be honest. Now I'm just thinking about it. Now it's just past. I mean, yeah, we really didn't need that Victor scene at all, really.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, but this scene we do need, though. Okay, so,
yeah, big time.
Basie left, and he left with, I believe it's
Dainty.
Oh, it's Dainty. Oh my God, I forgot. Yes, oh God, his name's Dainty.
Yes.
Ben Stiller, Dainty.
Dainty Zoolander, the long lost ancestor of Derek Zoolander.
Look, I don't want to just like throw him under the bus or anything. I look at say, I know he's done dramatic stuff. I know he did that. I forget if Brad's Status was a comedy. The point being, I can't say he's done a lot of great dramatic stuff. I'm sure Ben Stiller has dramatic chops, just haven't really been delved into yet. By the way, I give him credit on that. Though. I think he needs a good script for a change.
He needs a lead role in a Wes Anderson movie.
Maybe. Point being, though, again, so Basie has left him. He picked the Hershey bar guy over him, and he's just and right now that's kind of worse. So now he's entering a low of lows where he's been abandoned. He's alone yet again. People are going to be losing more people as the trip goes on here, and of course he calls him difficult boy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's very little English spoken by the Japanese in this movie. It's a difficult boy. It has some resonance. So the idea here is again, at least as I read, and I could be wrong because I'm not the look. I do enjoy some history, but not exactly a history buff, I suppose. But I read it as things aren't looking good for the war, so they're going to move them to a different place because they themselves don't know where they're going. If I'm being frank, I don't think they themselves know exactly what's happening. Because right now, the war is beginning to take a turn. They have to move them from the internment camp to presumably like either a different internment camp because I believe there are like 13 camps within Shanghai. I want to say, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they were all in Shanghai. All I know is there are 13 camps. Just me, it's Japanese controlled internment.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, they're probably moving to another location. While they can, because again, they have them, and obviously they don't want to for some reason they don't want to kill them all. They don't want to just kind of cut their losses. They still want to bring there. I guess they want the leverage. They want the hostages. They want the leverage being the idea. Of course, here as he's walking through here again showing the progression as again tracking the loss of innocence arc again as it basically as Jim becomes a man. His friend here becomes this. I thought this was very fascinating on a rewatch too, where his friend again seemingly he's about to kind of like fulfill his purpose, he's about to do everything. He's growing up. He's becoming the kamikaze pilot he always wanted to be, but plane craps out on him. As in, he's stalled. He's stalled in the same way that Jim is stalled. Where again, he thought he and Basie were going to leave together, and Basie left without him. He's almost in the sky, which again, the sky is kind of with both of these people again from on different sides of the fence, but again have a bit of a kingship. Their kingship is through the sky, which both of them are unable to meet at the moment.
A little bit of like a fox and the hound element to their friendship.
That's a good comparison.
Again.
That's a really good that's a solid comparison on that one, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look how devastated he is right now. It's like, oh, God. And of course, it's just the walking, man. The sheer walking. A lot of walking.
Which, you know what? I know I just called it a set piece, but even the walking goes on for too long.
Well, it's kind of supposed to, though. You have to buy that.
Yeah, and that's, again, Dragon, that's where we get into dicey territory here with this movie, where it's like, is it just badly paced? Or is it supposed to kind of like draw you into that sort of mindset? You know what I mean?
I mean, I gotta be honest. Right now, he's just kind of going on while he's looking at the bag right now. Like this is stuff like, yeah, I'm not exactly certain because I think we just showed that again. He's gonna devoid. He's slowly man. We need the suitcase bit more than we need this stuff. I guess is the point. We need the bit where he ditches the suitcase. That's an important part here. Of course, like presumably her husband's dead because she can't find her husband. Mrs. Victor. And here coming up again, I guess the water bit coming up soon. A bit where again, the suitcase symbolizing childhood innocence. Again, he kind of abandons it because the idea is that people are, again, they're getting plumb tired walking this great distance, and you can only carry so much. And he ditches the bag. He ditches the suitcase filled with again all the totems of his childhood innocence and any remnants of his family he has left. He just ditches it. So he's leaving the childish things behind. Spielberg actually kind of phrased it as he's doing a reverse Peter Pan story for this.
Oh, I like that. As a matter of fact, I think this whole movie can be looked at as like a reverse Peter Pan scenario. That's a good way to put it.
Yep. But the idea again, it's kind of like instead of the kid who never wants to grow up, he's kind of it's kind of vice versa.
Yeah.
All
right, Dragon, my phone's about to die, so excuse me while I make some emergency precautions.
All right.
I thought that 75% would be enough of the way charged, but apparently not. It's no big deal. I'm just getting my charger out. It's fine.
All right. So we've seen. Okay, so now I believe we're about to reach the football field.
Yeah.
Right now we have like this really. I mean, it's kind of this weird looking statue with all these.
Oh, it's eerie as hell, man.
Yeah. Here we go. So this football. Oh god, I love the set piece of the football stadium, where essentially we had the state. I'm sorry, more accurately, it's the stadium. So again, I love the stadium here, where again we have all the possessions that they took, like looted from the houses, ended up here, and it's just this really great. Again, basically, he's walking into a field of reminders and just kind of like again of the civil. Basically, again, it's kind of like it's almost like the ultimate screw you for all the opulence that you lived in. You all went here and you hired yourself so walking here, and again, it'll do you no good. But it's like the ultimate. It's a reminder of what you used to have, and now you've been. It's kind of a humbling journey, I guess, is the best way to put it. And Jim,
a full circle way to kind of round out this character's arc. It's like, okay, like he started out in the lap of luxury, sort of being completely oblivious to the stuff going on around him. And you were even saying that in the beginning, Dragon, where we frame it, where it's like, a lot of shots in that beginning segment where, he's literally just kind of like at level where it's like there's stuff going on in the background. He's just not comprehending it. To now, it's like he's completely aware. It's like, oh shit, this is the cost of war right here. It's like this is like my entire lifestyle just literally out here for display and to be sold. Oh man, it's a very like you said, it's a very kind of eye-opening moment for him.
Of course, here and basically the thing that really stops Jim in his tracks here because he sees his family's Packard. He sees the car of his
right.
He sees his family's car made it to the stadium. And again, this is a fascinating idea here. Where again, like the question is like, we're going upstate, and it's still you're moving for no promise of salvation. We're being moved, and we're still going along with it here.
Okay. This stuff with Mrs. Victor is easily stuff that I would cut out of the movie. Fucking easily. What do you think?
Well, again, I cut out more of the stuff that honestly, all of her scenes beforehand are the stuff everything probably.
Okay, I would cut out her whole character then. Like, honestly, I feel like we kind of just stumbled upon the solution, Dragon. It's like her stuff is like poignant enough, I guess, but it like I don't necessarily think it brings all that much resonance for the character. I don't necessarily think it's all that great. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like I feel like she's kind of like maybe the anti-X factor here. Or am I just being too harsh? I don't know. I'm just trying to work it out in the moment.
Well, now that I'm thinking of it, I gotta be honest, because I was thinking like we need her for the potato scene. I'm realizing, well, do we really need the potato scene though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like to me, her whole reason for being here is just kind of like it's sort of just telling us stuff that we already knew about Jim. You know what I mean?
Basically, here's the thing. Okay, Tiki, here's the thing. All right, so she is. If you look at it this way, we don't need her. We only need her for one bit, which is coming up. The only bit we need her for is the fact that he thinks her death, because she dies here. He thinks that her death is what causes Nagasaki. That's the only reason she's in the movie.
Right.
Her death. But I mean, honestly, in the grand, if you look, really weigh out like all the other scenes necessitating that, it's like it's a one line. Here's the thing. I even have a problem with one of those bits there where he kind of monologues by himself of like, I thought it was her dying. Who are you talking?
That bit, I really did not. Yeah.
So in the Tiki, I think you honestly solved. I think you cracked the code. If we got rid of her, then because honestly, all of her, I kind of forgot that all of her scenes were the ones that kind of slowed us down.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but seriously, I mean, just so we don't miss it. Of course, the big scene that's about to unfold before our eyes here, Nagasaki. Right here, we have the Nagasaki bombing, and the end. This Martin Scorsese. I believe Scorsese really likes this scene, if I remember correctly. Spielberg.
Dragon, I'm so sorry. I have to step away for like just a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Basically, what we have here, we're going. Nagasaki's unfolding, and again, it's something that's kind of dropping down from the sky, and again, it's kind of like a big, kind of beautiful thing. Again, it's beautifully eerie, but also again with. I doubt it's because of her death, but more accurately, it's the. It's not because of her death. What I'm getting at is that we have this beautiful thing unfolding, and the idea is, again, he loses his innocence here, and as he loses his innocence, many people die. So it's the death of innocence as well as the death of many others. And again, I'm not saying that her death is necessarily like the loss of innocence, but it's kind of like one of the last straws, perhaps, if they're going for that. Point being, oh, this is the point where, again, like, we've reached everything he's been through at this point has been a loss of innocence. The suitcase has been a loss of innocence, and the bomb signifies it in a big way. And he's just walking through this. Basically, we have this, so after the money shot of the movie, we have this, and after the visual, death of innocence. I love that he's just walking through this. Sorry, let me rephrase it like this. All right, so there was a phenomenon in Nagasaki, people who witnessed the bombs dropping, witnessed some of the bombs dropping, where there was this question of like hearsay or like, did I hallucinate that when just like that feel like the color in the air and just all this, the plumes of dust and everything that I just like all this whole like just that big blinding, like, did I hallucinate that? I think that's kind of what they captured just now, and the thing kind of complements that. So he's just walking through, and we're seeing the aftermath of war that basically kind of built up here, where now we have no idea what's going on. He's just kind of walking through like this big kind of ghostly lit area. Or again, I doubt it's fallout. I just think it's more so it's just the just kind of like dust and aftermath of something. Maybe it's like a plume from the plume, perhaps. I don't know. I don't think it's like actual radiation we have to worry about, but I don't know. Anyway, so here's another great money shot. Oh my goodness, I love the parachuting kind of food drops, the food and supply drops here, just kind of come across in the distance here. This looks great. It's lit beautifully. This and the Nagasaki effect, just probably the best looking shots in the entire movie. And again, correlates to what Jim defines as God in this movie, which again is kind of flight, the sky, and this kind of things falling from the sky, prayers being answered, food, survival, and again compares to what he's been looking for in Act 1. We ate through all the food, and the desperation for food, something that's not a frickin' sweet potato at this point. He's found, he's found sustenance, he's found resources. All is good. I would bet you dollars to donuts this is an improvised bit here. He's just looking for a can. How the heck are you going to get into the can? He's looking for a can opener. He's just basically drinking the. I want to say it's like some sort of like some sort of processed milk in a can. I think that's what it is.
Out of back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now, Jim, of course, he's scavenging. He's found the food from the food drops, kind of fashioned a parachute into kind of a sack to carry it in.
Right. And he walked back to the internment camp, right?
Yeah, he's walking back to the internment camp.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, so now we check back in with his friend, the kamikaze pilot.
Another tricky shot where it's like the first time we see him like wading through the weeds. It might be Jim.
Yeah. Also, you kind of notice he must be really bad at his job in retrospect.
Oh God.
I'm just saying, if you really think about it. But yes, this is where we have.
This is, of course, where the fox and the ham parable comes into play.
Yeah, and again, he's about to, he's about to kind of. I gotta tell you, it's a simple thing. I know. I just love the fact that you have a pilot with a katana. It's kind of cool.
Oh God!
That up real quick. I don't know. So even when he was like boarding the plane, it's like the way the Japanese kind of kamikaze pilots dress was kind of cool. Anyway, so yes, you're right. Fox and the Hound moment here. Where he says, "Oh, it's my old buddy. I was gonna slice you in two, but you're my buddy. We're all cool." Of course, here basically he is presumably, and again I'm reading because they have confirmed that he is a kamikaze pilot, so I'm going to harping on it. Like I think the idea is like he's really down in the dumps because again he hasn't fulfilled his purpose. I like to think that. I'm just saying like he's a randomly. You know what? I don't know if I was reading that wrong because right now I'm kind of realizing this as it's unfolding right now. He just kind of ran there and it's like, oh, it's you. And just ran there and like plump. And I'm thinking, oh man, he just got sad really fast, or he's just going for the mango. I guess he's going for the mango. It makes more sense he's going for the mango. So forget my kamikaze point I was just making here. But anyway, goes for the mango as the basically some very Mad Max looking kind of American kind of resistance kind of comes in with Basie just now. And here we have the tragic misunderstanding.
I got the bullets! I got the bullets!
Right.
It's Rebel Without a Cause, Dragon, another tragic misunderstanding.
Right. Again, like, I gotta be honest though, on the rewatch, I mean, it is the way it though. I don't know, like, this is not a problem. I was kind of noticing here. It's like, I mean, again, it's really tense in the editing where again he lifts the katana above. They're like Jim, but literally, you see like the mango's like the blade is in the mango, so he's kind of out of danger. Then the gunshot happens. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a dramatic thing within the editing or what. I mean, again, it's a great moment though, and of course, like I just seeing look, I don't want to just go for the cheap gag here. But my God, he beats the living tar out of this guy as if he should be wearing a cape and a cowl. I don't know. But I mean, as a kid though, he's like literally just flipped the guy when he's just running towards him. And
oh yeah, he does a big dramatic flip. Yeah, it's not Ben Stiller, right?
No, it's not. Well, I doubt it's Ben Stiller. I can't really.
I don't think so. And I like how we don't like stop the movie cold to it's like, because that's the thing, it's like it could have been like a Mrs. Victor thing where the movie just kind of like stops to reflect like, well, I guess my friend is in heaven now. But no, it's like this is like very much a casualty of war kind of situation where it's like it's a like if anything else, this is this is the wake up call for him.
Yeah, at the very least, this is the bit where we realize that Jim is not the kid who worshipped Basie after this moment here. This is where he sobered up, and again, Nagasaki was kind of the transition point for again the loss of innocence and visual capacity. And again, like this as well is kind of communicating that he's very different from that kid from the very beginning. At this point, it's like the city miles, the whole shebang is here. Like he's seen death. His friend has died before him here, and this is where we hit the American Dad joke I made earlier here, where it's still this is the heartbreaking. Like, how much sadder can you get, really?
Right.
He thinks he can I can bring everyone back. And again, there's a really great, wonderfully trippy shot coming up here, where again he's in trying to bring his friend back. This is great visual directing here. Like, it's not just trying to bring himself back. He thinks he can bring back his status quo and bring his old self back to life if he saves his friend here. And of course, we have this really wonderful cut to him literally bringing the Christian Bale from earlier in the movie back.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to.
You know what's interesting is like I feel like this movie is like it's more experimental about trippy, fantastical stuff like that than Spielberg usually gets.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And again, I'm kind of wondering if Always is going to be basically a whole movie of that kind of stuff.
No clue. Yeah, again, that's a trippy shot. Him just trying to revive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, we have the reality. Again, it's kind of the reality. Even Basie's snapping him out of here. Like, oh my God, you're trying to revive a corpse. Didn't I teach you anything? Yes. You taught me that people do anything for a potato. God. So that's the thing. So Basie here is he looked out for himself in the first place here, but he did come back not for Jim, but he came back for the food drops, and I do believe him when he says he wants to take him back to his father here. I do believe that, but again, it's just too late. Jim is not he's not that kid anymore. Again, the status quo has changed, and it's going to take Basie a moment to kind of put that together.
Mm-hmm.
A part of me feels it's still a tough buy that he wouldn't look out for the kid and just tell him to get in the car. Like he wouldn't put more of a discussion up to get him to go with him. I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same point, I do like the Hershey bar thing.
Yeah, the Hershey bar. It's kind of
it's a nice punctuation at the end of Basie's story.
At the very least, yeah. And again, it's a sobering lesson of even if you like this guy, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to always be there for you.
Exactly. Right.
Somewhere, Don. I know you're not going to get this reference. Somewhere with the gift of that Hershey bar, Don Draper sheds a single tear. I won't give it away, but let's just say Don Draper has very nostalgic feelings towards Hershey bars.
Really.
He does. It's a big moment too in that series. But
oh man,
Hershey bars pivotal.
Dragon, that's probably the best sell for me to watch Mad Men that anyone's ever given me.
Oh, yeah. Seriously, Mad Men. That's a good one. All right. Everything but Betty Draper.
You know, it's like we had at the very, you know, in the first act, him riding around the bike was more of, you know, it was more of like a Home Alone situation. Whereas this is kind of just like he's doing it almost out of desperation to fill his day up with something, you know.
And again, he's just making the connection to he's sticking around what his new definition of home is. And again, he is kind of, and Christian Bale doing it again, like he did with the plane scene, when he's just trying to cling to the past here. Again, the idea is he's grown out of all this, but he's just trying to convince himself that this is the new status quo. He's just trying to relive the youth that he's lost. And he's lost everything. Baisley's abandoned him for a second time. He's kind of got a screw loose right now. He's just trying to embrace some childhood in a really just kind of desperate. Again, he's even though the war is over, he's just kind of, you know, he himself is in exile alone. He's kind of lost out of his gourd right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the look in his eye right now when they ride into that soldier before he just surrenders to him.
Again, kind of transition with the acting, yeah.
Again, him surrendering to the soldier, viewing that he's been in the internment camp so long, he's pretty much Japanese at this point. Trippy stuff.
Yeah, but man, it's a really goddamn good arc, you know? It's like
it is.
If the pacing on this movie was just a little bit better, if it was a little bit more show don't tell, or a little bit more tell, you know, we need more tell. Like this movie's got the makings of a Spielberg classic, man. It's got all the framework there. It just doesn't necessarily have all the structure, all the supports aren't necessarily as solidly in the foundation as I would like them to be. But structurally, it's very rock solid, man. It really is.
So it's nice to see the kids get reunited with their families. Now I do have to point that, and this is something that's this is kind of a weird nitpick here, because this is kind of a quasi biopic thing, where again, based on a real story, and again, given that J.G. Bale did go through this stuff and presumably was reunited with his parents, there is kind of a loose end in the movie. But again, given it happened in real life, I can't really judge it that harshly, because again, he did get reunited with them, so presumably it went down like this. But here's the thing. It's kind of a loose end where, again, like, so his family got out, where it really looks like they would have had no way of getting out, given what happened to him in that earlier scene, but presumably they did. So. I admit, maybe this goes on just maybe emphasis on smidge, but, you know, I think we just kind of draw out the reunion just a little bit here.
Okay, I'm just going to say now, though, but I love the way this movie ends. I love the ambiguous nature of it.
Yep, I do love the last visual in the movie. Jumping ahead a little bit, the last visual in the movie really sticks out. And I love this bit here, too.
Like, all these other kids are so sheltered compared to what Bale has been through, you know?
Look at how he sticks out. Look at, again, he has the 1,000-yard stare going on here.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's such a good, like, it's a very cathartic end to the movie. It's cathartic in that it's going to sound like a contradiction here, but it's cathartic in that it leaves so many things left unsaid, and yet it tells you everything at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like they're reunited, but they're never going to be the same. Like this kid's life has been forever changed by these 3 years.
And of course, I love the bit that kind of unfolded where his father, in looking for him, he was standing right plumb there. He didn't recognize him.
Spielberg daddy issues.
Well, again, more so like 3 years of probably PTSD.
No, I know. I'm silly.
And again, he's seeing his parents' face. And he's just trying to put it together because he hasn't seen him in 3 years. It's tragic. Sure. But again, it's a happy reunion, but it's like it's not exactly not happy. If it's a happy reunion, it's not a happy-go-lucky reunion.
It's really not a happy reunion at all.
It's a bittersweet reunion. Like, it's a bittersweet reunion.
It's like he does pull in for the hug, but then we see in his eyes, it's like, look at him, man. He's just like, he is so out of it.
Yep. I think in the grand scheme of things, he did channel all this into the writing, so things worked out. We know that much. But as far as the film goes, again, like he's lost the innocence. That's the idea. He's not the kid being reunited with his parents. He's a man who's been reunited with his parents, and he's just tired.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, importantly, the last image of the movie I feel is the most important. Again, with the theme of the symbolism of losing the innocence. I don't mean to be a broken record. I know it's like yes, it's the intent of the movie. You don't have to keep going blathering on about it, but it's kind of cool though. Where we end on the suitcase. We go full circle to what we saw. Where we built into like going into Shanghai, and we go to like the boats going through the place. And of course, the last image of the movie, like we have with the coffins, we have again with literal death. Now we have the death of what is signified within that box right there, with Jim's name on it. So good. And again, that to me is a little bit of like it kind of it's a glass half full, glass half empty thing. Where again, we see
What's
this
in the
image.
box? What's in the box? I'm sorry. I'm
What
sorry.
we
I'm trying to
see
make a "What's in the box"
is
joke, Dragon. If you don't mind,
right.
what's in the box? Jim's childhood innocence. There. Wow, that was very poorly timed. Anyways,
Anyway, my point. The point is again, it's speaking to again. It's like we know again, presume optimistically, JG Ballard things get adjusted, and again, like that. That's a symbol. Like the innocence will return in some way, shape, or form, or it's a sense of like it's dead, like the corpses from the beginning.
Mm. Okay, and you know what else is dead? This movie's runtime because we've reached the credits. Who's the?
Yeah.
So, Dragon, we're not going to sit through like 8 minutes worth of credits. What are your final thoughts?
Well, Tiki, you didn't see the post-credit scene?
Are you fucking me?
Am I?
No, I didn't. Is there a post-credit scene?
No, Tiki, there's no post-credit scene.
Okay, good. I was like, what the hell of all the movies?
Tiki, I think the only movie he's ever done a post-credit scene on, if there even is one, is The Post, if that's even a post-credit scene.
It's just like the post-credit scene is just Basie and Ben Stiller hanging out eating Hershey's bars.
Anyway, in all seriousness, here's for the final thoughts. Like, what is there a post-credits in you anyway?
All right. Yeah, you can fire in first.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm going to keep it simple. This is not my favorite Spielberg film, but it's very well made. A little slow and dragged out in places, as we've kind of hit upon. Miss Victor, get rid of her sections. I think we'd lose at least maybe like 8 to 10 minutes, which would be a help. This film, it has a lot of great stuff. It has riveting performances. It's got a great story, great character arc. It's refreshing to see Spielberg tell the story, and I think he tells it very well. You can see how this sort of thing paves the way for more of Spielberg's historical pieces. He's really cutting his teeth on it. It's just not exactly a piece to go back to a lot. And that's not saying it's bad. It's just saying that it's not a piece that, it's not something you can really learn. I'm not saying you can't learn new things from the more you watch it. I'm just saying it's not something you feel energized to go back to. It's like, I've seen it, and it was good. It's just not something like I'd go back, like, say, like, if E.T. were on, I think you check out, like, E.T. or Raiders of the Lost Ark before you check out this movie.
Well, I mean, yes, you would check out E.T. and Raiders before this, sure.
All right, fine. I'll give it a more fair comparison.
You would probably check out, like, Schindler's List or Saving Private Ryan before this, I'd say.
There you go.
Comparison.
Exactly, fine. Of the historical pieces, yeah, you go with Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List before this. I mean, you definitely go with this before you go to something like The Post or, like, Lincoln, but, it's...
Oh, yeah. God, yes. Oh, yeah.
All right.
I mean, especially The Post, man. The Post might be one of the least significant movies Spielberg's done. Anyways, yeah, I like this movie quite a bit. I'm not going to go as far as to say I love it or it's like a new favorite Spielberg movie of mine or anything like that. But I do admire it a lot. The arc is very clearly fleshed out and established and really runs its way throughout the whole film in a pretty significant way. Just in terms of cinematography, it's just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful looking movie, great colors, great camera work. The score is appropriately understated and some really intense kind of hard hitting thematic elements to it. Certainly it's not as essential of a Spielberg movie as Schindler's List or Saving Private Ryan, but I do think that it was an excellent stepping stone to get to that point.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Dragon, I'm sorry, I missed your answer. Have you watched Always?
No, Tiki, I haven't. That's why. No, I haven't seen it yet. We're still going
Okay,
into it
so
blind.
folks, that is just to tease it up here. That is our finale of Spielberg month. It's we're not doing like yeah, I mean, frankly, we don't have any big Spielberg movies at this point, Dragon. I think the biggest one we have might be something like Lincoln, as sad as that is to say. But we don't have any big Spielberg movies left, but we're gonna kind of take an opposite approach to like season one. We ended on Jurassic Park. Help me out here, Drag. We always end on something big.
I'm pretty sure we ended one of the seasons on Schindler's List. I think
Yes, yes. Last season was Schindler's List as the finale. Yes.
Yeah.
But this season, we're going to do an entirely different approach, and we're basically going to be commentating on arguably the most obscure out of all of the Spielberg movies.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it has to be.
Nothing about it. We know.
I mean, Duel has a following, but Always, no, you don't hear anything about Always.
We know that there's some weird sort of like religious, like spiritual elements to it. We know that there's Dragon, from what I understand, it's kind of like the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze in a way. It's kind of a little bit similar to that, where it's like the dead husband trying to communicate with the wife. I don't know.
Pretty much. I mean, Ghost Pilot
with a weird movie.
I mean, I think it's Ghost Pilot with a girlfriend played by Richard Dreyfuss. I think it's about all I got on it. Just
right.
What I remember of the synopsis was going into it blind.
So God knows how that's going to go. Like, Dragon literally brought it up to me like, hey, Tiki, it would be interesting if we did a commentary on a movie we know absolutely nothing about. It's kind of like the mystery flavor of Spielberg. And I'm like, yeah.
I didn't think of ending it on the. I didn't think of ending the season with it, but still,
So yeah, we will be tackling that next time on Spielberg month, of course, before the end of the month. So it's coming up very soon indeed. Let's see. I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm just kind of making sure I have all my ducks in a row. Anything else we need to go over here?
No.
Okay.
I'm just gonna send the folks home in style. That's all.
All right. Well, that's it. Until next time, folks. Stay tuned when we embark on another flight of wonder aboard Spielberg. Hey kid, you want a Hershey bar?